Hello? Before you dive into this audiobook, I'd like to inform you that if you wish to support the author of this fanfic, there's a link in the description. Also, please note that this novel was originally written in Chinese. Enjoy listening. Chapter 81, Bulma is upset. The audience of the martial arts competition finally dispersed. A group of people from the Kame Senryo gathered together. They all sent sincere blessings to Krillin and Shino. Krillin and Shino held hands, looking sweet. Bulma smiled and said, "Today Krillin has gained both fame, wealth, and love. Not only did he win the championship of the martial arts competition, but he also got a beautiful woman. He is so lucky. What do you think? Let him treat everyone to a big meal." Everyone started to make a noise. "Yes, Krillin, we need to treat everyone and have a big meal. Son Goku, I suggest we go to the biggest buffet." "Shishi, buffets are not good, I'll eat hot pot." "Yamcha, I think barbecue is better." Bulma looked at everyone. "You guys, do you feel so sorry for Krillin? Why are you ordering all cheap restaurants? If I were to ask him, he would enjoy his life from now on, and he must bleed a lot of money. Why don't we let him take us to eat seafood cafe, how about that?" Puer asked curiously. "Master, I haven't eaten seafood cafe yet, it's very expensive, right?" Bulma smiled and said, "It's not expensive, the average cost per person is only 20,000. Hearing the average cost per person was 20,000, Shino was stunned for a moment. "Hey, are the prices in the city so expensive?" Bulma smiled and said, "Sino, it's so hard to leave your village. Let Krillin take you to eat something good. Don't feel sorry for him, he has money." Krillin nodded vigorously. "Well, everyone has worked hard today. You can eat whatever you want. I'll pay." Sino counted on her fingers. "If one person spends 20,000, 1, 2, 3. There are 7 of us, and the total cost is 140,000. Sino calculated and found that the consumption was quite high, so she immediately turned to ask Krillin. "Krillin, I calculated, if one person spends 20,000, the total cost is 140,000? I remember Goku has a bigger appetite, doesn't it cost at least 200,000? Krillin smiled faintly and said, "You, 967, don't know Goku's appetite at all. His appetite is more than that of a few people. Well, let me think about it. At least he can eat more than 50 people. What?" Sino was shocked and looked at Goku, a little unbelievable. "Really? Goku, can you really eat that much?" Son Goku nodded honestly. "Ha ha ha ha, yes, I have a better appetite. So I suggest eating buffet. I don't mind the lower grade, as long as I am full." Sino scratched her head. She remembered the scene 3 years ago, after destroying Masroda, when everyone went to his house for dinner. Obviously so many meals were cooked, and a pot of rice was added, but in the end there was no leftovers. At that time, she knew that Goku had a big appetite, but she didn't expect it to be so big. She thought Goku ate all the food cleanly because he respected her cooking. Today, Krillin said that Goku's appetite is 50 times that of ordinary people. Sino realized that Goku may not have eaten enough after eating so much that day. Sino calculated it according to the cost of the seafood restaurant, but it was still conservative. If it was based on Goku's appetite, then he would have to spend 1 million for a meal. She took a breath of cold air suddenly. "Although I don't quite understand the concept of 1 million here, seafood is not that expensive. It's just fish, shrimp, crab, abalone, scallops and the like. Although their village is a little backward and there are not many seafood to eat, they can still eat it in the summer." Snow thought that it should be the high-end restaurant that Bulma mentioned that is expensive. In their village, her family doesn't seem to be bad, and they can eat meat all they want for every meal. Even so, her father probably can't save 1 million in 10 years. Even if he buys 2 pigs, it's only a few thousand yuan. Both the elbow and the ribs are delicious, no worse than seafood. She thinks that if you can eat a few thousand yuan, there is no need to spend 1 million yuan on seafood. It's a waste of money. Or if you really want to eat seafood, you can buy it yourself and cook it yourself. Snow thought for a while, looked at Krillin, and asked in a tone of suggestion, "Krillin, it's a waste of money to eat such expensive food in a restaurant. How about we go eat something else? If everyone likes seafood, let's go to the seafood market to buy some seafood, and I'll cook for everyone. I've been cooking since I was a child, and everyone trusts me. I can cook delicious and clean." Bulma was slightly surprised to see that Snow, a very shy person, actually said so much in front of so many people to save money. She couldn't help laughing and said, "Yo, little Snow hasn't even married yet. She has taken on the role of Krillin's wife so quickly, and has already started saving money for him. Krillin really picked up a treasure." Krillin smiled foolishly when he heard Bulma's words, and didn't say anything. Snow blushed and lowered her head shyly. Others looked at her embarrassed look and laughed. And Shishi looked at Snow's frugal appearance, and unconsciously had a better impression of her. Krillin doesn't eat much, so Shino only needs to consider this one time. But she is different. If she marries Goku, every meal will cost millions, and even if she has a mountain of gold, it won't be enough. She looked at Bulma and suggested, "Bulma, why don't we go back to Kame House first?" Bulma was curious. "Why?" Shishi said, "I suddenly thought of one thing. Goku has such a big appetite. After I marry him, I can't go to restaurants every day. I must learn to cook as soon as possible. There is a big seafood market on the island where we used to practice. We can go there to buy ingredients and then go to teacher Wu Tian's house to cook. It's just right that I can help Shinyo and learn to cook by the way. As she said that, Shishi looked at Shinyo and cast a kind look. When Shinyo heard what Shishi said, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief, fearing that because of her frugality just now, Krillin would be embarrassed and his friends would look down on him. Seeing Shishi's gaze, Shino became more friendly to her. Bulma smiled and said, "It turns out that little Shino can cook and seems very confident. She will definitely be an excellent wife in the future? Well, I just happen to dislike the unclean food in restaurants and don't like eating out. Let's go back quickly." Everyone nodded. Okay. Suddenly, Krillin noticed something unusual. Hey, that's not right. Why is Master Wu Tian gone? Shishi looked around and didn't see Master Rashi. Hey, yeah, I seemed to have seen him just now. How come he disappeared a while ago? Where did he go? Yamcha scratched his head. Is he afraid of disturbing our dinner conversation? So he secretly went to the toilet. Gaku asked curiously, to the toilet. Teacher Mutant left the scene after the battle with Tien Xinyan. Shouldn't have to disguise himself and change clothes back and forth. Why would he pretend to go to the toilet? Yamcha didn't understand what Son Goku meant, nodded, and said, "You don't know, he ran to the toilet when we came today. And he kept running to the toilet during the competition. After all, he is old, I guess he is a little uncomfortable these 2 days." Knowing that Teacher Mutant was not there, Son Goku suddenly frowned. He remembered that in addition to the world's first martial arts competition today, there was something big happening. If nothing unexpected happens, Piccolo Daimao's subordinate Dan Balin will come to the martial arts competition to snatch the competition list, and then kill the martial artists according to the competition list. With the strength of Krillin and Shishi now, he is not worried about their safety at all. But it would be bad if Master Mutant faced Dan Balin. Although Master Mutant's martial arts skills would not kill him instantly, but he is so old and careless at ordinary times. He might fall in a life and death battle. Son Goku immediately said, "Yamcha, don't run around here, I'll go find him. Bulma, Krillin, you two take everyone on the plane, don't walk around, so that I can find you together. I'll find Master Mutant and bring him back immediately, and we'll go back together." "Okay, let's do it." Bulma and Krillin nodded. After that, Gaku left the crowd and ran towards the backstage of the martial arts tournament. Seeing Gaku's back, Bulma immediately noticed that Gaku was uneasy. Usually, Gaku would not say a few words for a long time. He only practiced and ate. Today, he actually took the initiative to arrange the itinerary, which was abnormal. Thinking of today, Bulma's eyes suddenly flashed. "I said I forgot something?" Piccolo Daimao was born. She recalled the scene of her previous life. It was on this day in her previous life, after the martial arts tournament. Gaku showed an uneasy look. As a result, Krillin went to help him get the Ruyi Rod, and was killed by Dan Balin. Bulma remembered it very clearly. That day, Gaku saw Krillin die, and went to Dan Balin like crazy to seek revenge. Master Rashi almost tried his best to stop him, but he didn't stop him. However, in this life, Krillin is very strong, and his companions did not leave the crowd. Except for Master Rashi, no one would be in danger. Bulma clenched her fists and wanted to say something. But seeing that everyone was there, and Shishi and Krillin, who had extraordinary martial arts skills, were there, as long as no one left, their safety would be guaranteed. For the safety of everyone, they simply followed Gaku's arrangement, found a wide place, opened the airplane capsule, and took everyone on the plane. There were plenty of seats on the plane, and they were also comfortable. There were music, snacks, and drinks. Everyone relaxed in the chairs, listening to music, chatting and eating snacks. Krillin and Shinyo sat together, eating snacks, each with an earphone, and listening to songs together, looking very comfortable. Yamcha and Puer also closed their eyes and lay on the chairs with their eyes closed. Shishi leaned on the window seat alone and looked at the scenery outside the window. There was an empty seat next to her. Bulma knew that the seat was reserved by Shishi for Gaku. Bulma looked at the harmonious scene on the plane, but she felt uneasy. She prayed in her heart, "I hope Gaku can find Master Rashi in time and don't let him get killed." Just as Bulma was praying anxiously, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Hey, Bulma." Bulma turned her head. "It's Shishi, what's wrong?" Shishi patted the seat next to her. "Bulma, come here." Bulma sat next to Shishi with a curious look on her face. "What's wrong, Shishi?" Shishi leaned close to Bulma's ear and said embarrassedly, "Bulma, are you angry with me?" Bulma blinked and asked in confusion, "Angry with you, why?" Shishi bit her lower lip shyly and whispered, "Bulma, I didn't mean it, really." "What?" Bulma was still confused. Shishi whispered, "At that time, I saw Krillin and the others kissing on the ring, I was so envious. Gaku and I have known each other for such a long time and have never kissed each other. I really couldn't help myself for a moment." "Don't worry, Bulma. You will take charge of the matter of marrying Gaku in the future. We will be a family with Gaku in the future. I will never play tricks on you. Let's get along well and love each other, okay?" Bulma couldn't help but twitch her eyelids when she heard Shishi say such a thing. "What was I doing at that time? Are you talking about the kiss with little Gaku just now?" Shishi nodded. "What's wrong? I feel that you have been uneasy since Gaku went to find Mr. Mutant. Aren't you thinking about this?" Seeing Shishi's expression, a relaxed smile appeared on Maxiaidang's face. Bulma said, "Shishi, as long as you can be as gentle and kind as you are now, As long as you can make Gaku happy all the time, I will be happy. If Gaku is happy, I think our whole family will be happy. Shishi nodded. Well, I have thought about it. I will be a good wife in the future. I will do our housework and cook for me. I will definitely take good care of Gaku. Bulma smiled like an ant, touched Shishi's head, and said earnestly, Shishi, we are so familiar with each other, I will tell you straight. You also know that my family is the richest in the world. My parents only have 2 daughters, me and my sister. So, you don't have to worry about money in the future. My father has a lot of money in the capsule company. Even if it is divided equally with my sister, it is enough for us to spend several lifetimes. If we have children in the future, we don't have to worry about the children's schooling and work. At worst, let him inherit the capsule company in the future. Even if the child doesn't have that brain, it can be arranged to be a senior executive casually. In addition, there is no need to consider as for Gaku's work, our family doesn't need that kind of money. You just need to be nice to Gaku and let him practice well, okay? Shishi didn't react for a while when she heard what Bulma said to her. Her focus seemed to be wrong. How many lifetimes of money can you spend? How much money is that? Gaku can eat so much, can he eat for several lifetimes? Bulma looked at Shishi's dazed expression and nodded. Well, let's put it this way, my dad has a lot of savings now, even if we don't count the daily profit, the daily interest alone can make millions. Shishi was shocked. What? The interest earned every day is more than several million. Is your father so rich? Bulma nodded. Yes, he is very rich. In short, Gaku will never go bankrupt even if he eats a lot, and the more he spends, the more he will eat. Shishi was still calculating, and suddenly 4.8 thought of something and asked again. By the way, Bulma, do you think that my and Gaku's children will be as good eaters as Gaku in the future? Bulma was stunned for a moment, and then she understood. Shishi's cognition is still not enough, and she can't understand how capital makes money at all. Until now, she still thinks that eating a lot can make the richest man poor. However, it will take a lot of effort to correct this cognition for her, and Bulma chose not to interfere with her cognition. So Bulma directly answered her verbal question, and said, of course, appetite can be inherited. Our and Gaku's children, even if they are not as good eaters as Gaku, will probably have half of his appetite. But don't worry, leave the money to me. With me, our family will never lack money. Shishi gave Bulma a thumbs up. Bulma, although you don't know martial arts, you are more powerful. Bulma smiled and said, don't let your imagination run wild. You must practice hard in the future. Don't be left behind by Gaku, otherwise I won't play with you. Shishi nodded. Well, I've been working hard. By the way, Bulma, I remembered someone. Who? Shishi whispered, is your sister Tais long past the marriageable age, but still unmarried? Hearing Tais, Bulma sighed, looked at the sky and thought, yes, I almost forgot about her. She is a person who floats in the universe every day. She has met so many people that she may be dazzled. Now she concentrates on writing novels and has long stopped considering getting married. Even my parents don't urge her. Bulma suddenly realized that something was wrong and immediately asked, Shishi, why are you asking her? Shishi thought for a while and said, Bulma, I think it's not a good idea to split the capsule company in the future. Why don't you persuade your sister to marry Gaku? What if your sister gets lonely one day and marries an alien and divides our property? That would be terrible. Chapter 82 Visitors from the Temple. Hearing Shishi's stupid suggestion, Bulma looked at her in disbelief. Shishi also looked at Bulma wisely, as if asking for her opinion. The clarity and stupidity in her eyes made Bulma's mouth twitch. Bulma's heart was in turmoil, and she thought to herself, Shishi, are you crazy? In my previous life, I thought you were a little less stubborn than normal people. In order to revive everyone, I, a weak woman, was not afraid of life and death. I traveled many light years to Namek to find the Dragon Ball. But you actually let Gohan take a bag of homework with him? Now I'm reborn. Seeing that you have a hard time, I agree to marry Gaku at the same time as you. But you also want to arrange for my sister. I really want to find out what's in your little head. I'm so scared. In the future, among the 3 of us in our family, I won't be the only one with a brain, right? Woohoo. I'm so tired. Bulma complained to herself for a long time, but didn't say a word. Shishi's eyes were still clear and stupid. Seeing that Bulma didn't answer her, Shishi continued to ask, Bulma, what's wrong with you? Isn't my idea great? Bulma smiled bitterly. Shishi, don't worry about this kind of thing. I've already said that you can leave the money to me. Oh, okay, I'll listen to you. You're the smartest. Gaku and I will listen to you in the future. Just when Bulma wanted to return to the driver's seat, there was a sudden exclamation. Hey, look outside, it looks like a magic carpet. Puer exclaimed, the man on it looks so funny. 13. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and Bulma also looked outside the plane. Mr. Popo was standing outside the plane on the magic carpet. Bulma was startled, why is he here? Everyone on the plane walked out of the plane and looked at Popo who was walking on the magic carpet. Popo greeted everyone politely. Hello everyone, I'm Popo. Bulma walked towards Popo and asked, hello, what can I do for you? Popo's magic carpet landed smoothly on the ground. He glanced at everyone. 2 bright eyes stayed on Shishi and Krillin's faces for a moment, and finally looked at Bulma. Let me introduce myself. I am a servant of God. I came here to see you for something. Everyone was surprised to hear that Popo was a servant of God. Servant of God. Servant of God riding a magic carpet. Snow looked at Krillin and asked, Krillin, is there a god in this world? Krillin thought, how can a servant of God have something to ask for? He is not a liar. Popo ignored everyone's doubts and said to himself, the god has been observing the human world in the temple. Today, we also saw the wonderful scenes of the world's #1 martial arts meeting. It surprised the god and me that such a powerful martial artist appeared in the human world. As he said, Popo looked at Shishi and Krillin. Shishi and Krillin were slightly stunned. The servant of God actually praised them. They were flattered and lowered their heads shyly. Krillin whispered to Snow, this person should be telling the truth. Snow nodded, I guess so. Bobo continued, however, a few days ago, a disaster occurred in the world. Piccolo Daimao, who once pushed the whole world into darkness, was reborn. Yamcha was stunned, Piccolo Daimao. Snow, Krillin, you know, I seem to have heard of this name. Krillin's eyes condensed, and a look of horror appeared on his face. When I was in the temple before, my abbot mentioned Piccolo Daimao. Everyone looked at Krillin. Even Bobo looked at Krillin. It would be best if someone could popularize science. Klin continued, 300 years ago, there was a Piccolo Daimao who turned the world into a terrifying hell. He was a sinister and vicious guy, and his skills were so strong that no one could compete with him. He and the monsters he created turned the peaceful world into a death abyss in an instant. But later, I don't know how, he disappeared. The world has restored peace. Hearing Klin's introduction, everyone else's eyes showed deep fear. Sino also covered her mouth in surprise. She couldn't believe it. She had just found a perfect husband like Klin, and the world was about to end? Isn't this too miserable? For a moment, she held Klin's hand tighter. Klin also held Shinyo's hand hard, indicating that she was relieved, and then looked at Popo. Mr. Popo, the Piccolo Daimao you just mentioned, is it the same person as me? Popo looked at Klin and nodded. Yes, you are right. Krillin asked again, then why did you ask us to come? Are you here to help us? When everyone heard this, hope was immediately ignited. Shishi also asked for everyone, yes, you just said that you are a servant of God, and you are here to help us eliminate Piccolo Daimao? With God's help, we will be saved, right? Popo shook his head. According to observation, the strength of your top martial artists is already fully capable of defeating Piccolo Daimao by yourself. According to my inference, there are at least 3 people in this world who can defeat Piccolo Daimao, and you account for 2 of them. Bulma understood what Popo meant as soon as he heard it. The 3 people he was talking about must be Goku, Shishi, and Krillin. Now that Goku is not here, the most powerful martial artists on the plane are undoubtedly Krillin and Shishi. The others all looked at Krillin and Shishi. Shishi pointed at herself in surprise. Those 3 people, are you talking about Goku, me and Krillin? Popo nodded, yes, so I came here to ask you for something. Bulma immediately asked, what is it, tell me quickly. Popo said, to save time, please don't interrupt me when I say anything, you will understand after listening. Everyone nodded. Popo said, to become a god, there must not be a trace of evil in your heart. And Piccolo Daimao is actually a trace of evil thoughts separated from the god when he was training. In short, Piccolo Daimao and the god are actually the same person. What I want to ask you is to defeat Piccolo Daimao, please don't kill him. Because, if Piccolo dies, the god will die. In addition, the Dragon Ball made by the god will turn into stone forever, and all hope in the world will be cut off. Humanity cannot lose the god, otherwise terrible things will happen. So this matter, I ask you? Others were surprised that the god and Piccolo were actually one. But Popo proposed that Dragon Ball was also made by the gods, and everyone gasped. It turns out that Piccolo Daimao and the gods are split from one person. It turns out that Dragon Ball was actually made by the gods. Oh no, my brain is going to grow, it's so itchy. Almost everyone here knows something about Dragon Ball. Sino has personally experienced the power of Dragon Ball. If it weren't for Dragon Ball, her family would be buried forever. If it weren't for rescuing Snow's family, Krillin wouldn't have met such a good girl like Snow. If Goku and Bulma hadn't searched for Dragon Ball together and came to the Flame Mountain, Shishi wouldn't have met Goku. They all have an indissoluble bond with Dragon Ball. No one else spoke. Bulma immediately stood up and put forward opinions on behalf of everyone. Okay, Mr. Popo, I agree with your request. Popo was stunned for a moment. Can you represent everyone? In an instant, everyone else nodded. I agree with Bulma's opinion. I agree too. We all agree with Bulma's opinion. Seeing the united efforts, Bobo's eyes were filled with tears of gratitude. Thank you, thank you. Bobo looked at everyone and said, although your strength is already very strong, yet your martial arts realm is still not enough, and your spiritual cultivation is insufficient. To thank you, after you defeat Piccolo Daimao, you can come to the temple through Kalin Tower. At that time, I can continue to teach you to practice, so that you can go further. With that, Popo bowed to everyone, and then flew away on the magic carpet. After Goku left Bulma and the others, he hurried to the backstage of the martial arts tournament. However, the backstage was empty. Son Goku breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seems that Dan Balin didn't come. At this moment, a cry for help came from not far away. Son Goku's eyes flashed, and he quickly rushed over. A moment later, Son Goku saw the referee lying on the ground, and there were several unknown martial artists lying on the ground. Basically, there was no breath. A poster with the word magic printed on it slowly fell. Son Goku glanced at everyone and did not find the 110-year-old came. At this moment, the referee raised his head and shouted, "Yes, it's Son Goku." Son Goku was stunned. "It's the referee, you are still alive." The referee said weakly, "There is a monster, he stole the list of participants in the martial arts tournament, and killed so many people. I heard his goal, he wants to kill all the contestants. Eyes. The referee coughed a few times, spat out a mouthful of blood, and his breathing became rapid in an instant. The blood stain on his back was stained red, and it was still spreading. Son Goku quickly flipped through his bag and stuffed a senzu bean into his mouth. "Eat it quickly." The referee thought he would die here, but after he ate the senzu bean, his injuries healed instantly, and he didn't feel any pain at all. "Ah, son, what did you give me to eat? It's amazing." The referee looked up and asked. However, the referee who raised his head found that, in just a few seconds, Son Goku's figure had disappeared. The referee asked curiously, "Did Son chase the monster?" "No, I didn't tell him, that person is too powerful. It's too dangerous for him to go alone, so many martial artists are not the opponent of the monster." The referee clenched his fists tightly. Suddenly, the referee thought of something. "No, Son is different from the others. He is so powerful, he will definitely defeat the monster. He will definitely save the world." Goku left the backstage of the martial arts tournament and kept looking around. But there was no trace of fighting around, and there was no movement, it was very quiet. Has he left? But where did Master Wu Tian go? Son Goku flew into the air with the flying technique and shouted in all directions, "Master Wu Tian." After shouting a few times, there was still no response. Son Goku scratched his head, "The teacher is not in the toilet, right? Suddenly I don't want to look for him." Just at this moment, Son Goku sensed a slight fluctuation in the air in the distance. It seems that someone is fighting. Speaking, Son Goku flew in the direction of the sense. Chapter 83 Shock. Destroy Danbalin with one move. At a certain intersection, Master Roshi looked at Tian Xinyan with a serious face. "You have completely parted ways with Crane Immortal. What are your plans for the future, or where are you going? If you are willing, come to my house, I am very welcome." Tian Xinyan shook his head. "Teacher Wu Tian, I appreciate your kindness. Although I betrayed my master, Jiaozi, and I are still disciples of Crane Immortal. I was so cruel to Yamcha, I really can't go to you with a thick face." Master Roshi said, "Don't mind, everyone may make mistakes in the past, as long as you repent. Yamcha used to rob, but now he has changed." Tian Xinyan shook his head again. "No need, Teacher Wu Tian. I have already thought about it. Jiaozi and I will live somewhere else in the future." Master Roshi said with some regret, "Really, since you have your own arrangements, I won't force it. Anyway, your strength is better than mine, and I have nothing to teach you. If you have no place to stay, remember to come to Kame House to find me." "Okay, no problem. Then Master Wu Tian, let's go." As soon as the voice fell, a fight suddenly came from the distance. Master Roshi, Tian Xinyan, and Jiaozi all looked into the distance. What sound? Tian Xinyan's eyes fixed. "That's the direction where Master Crane Immortal left." Jiaozi said, "Did the master fight with others?" Master Roshi snorted coldly. "Does Crane Immortal do bad things normally?" Tian Xinyan did not answer, but said, "Teacher Wu Tian, he is my master after all, I will go to see. You don't have to follow, let's say goodbye." As he said, Tian Xinyan and Jiaozi ran towards the direction of the fight. Master Roshi looked at Tian Xinyan and Jiaozi who were going away and nodded slightly. "It's great that this child can change." Suddenly, a scream came from a distance, which seemed to be Crane Immortal. There are not many people in this world who can kill Crane Immortal. Master Roshi felt something was wrong and immediately chased in the direction where Tian Xinyan left. However, when he arrived, he only saw Crane Immortal's body. He lay on the ground with his eyes open, as if he died with unwillingness and fear. And in the sky, Tian Xinyan was fighting a green monster with wings. Just then, a poster with the word slowly floated in front of Master Roshi. In an instant, a flash of lightning flashed through Master Roshi's mind. The long-lost horrible memory appeared before his eyes, and a trace of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. "Kill the monster and leave the monster." Could it be? Piccolo Daimao from more than 300 years ago came out. Master Roshi looked at Tian Xinyan and Danbalin again. Seeing Danbalin's green scales, the long-lost memory became clearer. Master Roshi murmured, "It seems that the strength is about the same as Tian Xinyan. That should be the child of Piccolo Daimao. It seems that Piccolo Daimao is really born? Damn it, it's terrible." At this moment, Tian Xinyan was hit by a move and flew out. Master Roshi suddenly felt bad. It was okay for masters of this level to spar. But if it was a life and death battle, the victory or defeat might be in a moment. He wanted to help, but he couldn't fly, so he really couldn't fight in the air. Master Roshi looked at the sky and stamped his feet anxiously. "If only I could fly." Just when Master Roshi was anxious, Tian Xinyan's figure froze. Master Roshi breathed a sigh of relief. Not bad. At this moment, a crisp voice suddenly came over. "Tianjin, get out of the way." Master Roshi looked closely. I saw Jiaozi floating in the air, pointing a finger at Danbalin, and a charged whole wave shot towards Danbalin. Tian Xinyan and Jiaozi were in good sync. The moment he heard the sound, he dodged sideways. The whole wave suddenly hit Danbalin, causing an explosion, and the billowing smoke and dust submerged Danbalin. Jiaoze and Tian Xinyan's eyes lit up at the same time. Hit. Did it succeed? Master Rashi also hoped that his attack would work. The two were looking at the smoke, when suddenly a beam of light shot towards Jiaoze from the smoke. Jiaoze was startled, and he wanted to dodge, but he couldn't keep up with the speed. Tian Xinyan wanted to rescue, but he couldn't get through the short distance of a few meters. Jiaoze. Instantly, the light penetrated Jiaoze's body. Jiaoze groaned miserably, and his hat fell to the ground, revealing only a strand of hair. The small body also fell to the ground. Tian Xinyan was shocked and immediately rushed to Jiaoze and caught him before he hit the ground. Jiaoze, how are you? Seeing Jiaoze's injury, Tian Xinyan breathed a sigh of relief. The light penetrated Jiaoze, but it seemed that his heart was not injured, so he could still be saved. Jiaoze, hold on. After killing him, I will take you to the hospital. Jiaoze suddenly raised his thin arms. Tianjin, heart. Tian Xinyan looked up. He saw Dan Balin opened his mouth, and a ki blast shot out from his mouth and shot towards the two of them. This Dan Balin seemed to know that villains die because of talking too much, so he was extremely ruthless. He didn't give him and Jiaoze any time to linger, and the fierce attack didn't stop at all. Oh no! Tian Xinyan saw the attack coming. He wanted to hide, but Jiaoze was lying on the ground, and he would die if he hit Jiaoze. Helplessly, he could only raise his arm to block the ki blast for Jiaoze. With a loud bang, Tian Xinyan was wrapped in smoke and dust. After the smoke and dust dissipated, Tian Xinyan's arm drooped down, and it was still bleeding, obviously seriously injured. Dan Balin was a little surprised. What? He didn't die after taking a hit from my magic light cannon, but was just injured. He flipped through the list of participants in the world's first martial arts competition, and soon saw Tian Xinyan's avatar. Oh, so his name is Tian Xinyan, no wonder he's so strong. So he's the second place in the martial arts tournament, he's really quite capable. Dan Balin put the list away again and said with a smile, don't worry, I'll send you to death right now. As he said that, Dan Balin flew towards Tian Xinyan and punched him with all his might. The moment his fist didn't touch Tian Xinyan, Master Rashi flashed over. He kicked Dan Balin's waist from the side and kicked him out. Tian Xinyan was startled. Master Wu Tian. Master Rashi shouted, Tian Xinyan, you're injured, take the dumplings and leave quickly, leave this to me. Tian Xinyan retorted, no, how can I leave you alone to deal with him? Master Rashi couldn't help but scold, go quickly, I'm much stronger than Tsuru Immortal, so I won't be beaten to death by him. You go quickly, the two wounded soldiers staying here will affect my output. As he spoke, Dan Balin burst into laughter. Ha ha ha, humans are so naive, don't you want to run? I will kill all the martial artists who have some skills, don't waste your energy. As he said that, Dan Balin opened his big mouth and fired another mouth cannon at Tian Xinyan. Master Rashi's muscles bulged instantly, and his clothes burst open in an instant. His hands directly formed a calyx shape, and a fish Kamehameha fired at Dan Balin's mouth. A violent explosion sounded, raising a cloud of dust. A breeze blew, and the smoke and dust dissipated without a trace. Dan Balin was shocked again. He flipped through the list of the martial arts competition, frowned and said, it's so strange, it seems that you are not on the list. How can there be such a powerful guy like you in this world? Dan Balin looked down at the body of Crane Immortal again. That guy is not on the list either, and he is also very powerful. It seems that there are many powerful martial artists in the human world. I have to talk to the big devil, we can't just kill those on the list. There are only more than 180, killing these martial artists is far from enough. Master Rashi wiped the sweat from his forehead, stared at Dan Balin, seriously said, you guy, even if you risk my life, I will never let you go back alive. Dan Balin laughed. Ay, you old man are really interesting, you still want to kill me, you are dreaming. Go to hell. While speaking, Dan Balin opened his mouth again. A beam of colorful energy shot towards Jiaoze and Tian Xinyan. Master Rashi was shocked. He didn't expect that this guy was not only very skilled in martial arts, but also extremely vicious. He actually aimed at the wounded, which was impossible to dodge. Dan Balin's moves completely took advantage of human weaknesses. How despicable. If he blocked this attack, he would not be able to fight this monster. However, at this time, Master Rashi had no time to weigh the pros and cons. He immediately flashed in front of Tian Xinyan and Jiaoze, condensed his breath in his palms, and crossed his hands together, trying to use his breath to block the attack. Seeing that Master Rashi was going to block the skill for him, Tian Xinyan hurriedly urged him to get out of the way. Master Wu Tian, get out of the way. However, since Master Rashi decided to save him, how could he leave? Seeing that Master Rashi was going to get hurt for him, Tian Xinyan, who had already injured an arm, immediately rushed in front of Master Rashi to block the attack. Master Rashi's pupils shrank. Tian Xinyan was in this state, and he had not gathered much energy at all, and he could not resist such a powerful move. Master Rashi finally pulled a misguided martial artist into the right path. However, as soon as he brought him to the right path, he was facing death. Master Rashi couldn't bear it. He was old and should have retired from the ranks of martial artists. Only outstanding young people like them were the hope for the future. If possible, he would rather die with his old bones than sacrifice young people. But, fate seemed to be like this. Tian Xinyan insisted on dying. He couldn't react at all, and he was no longer able to save him. Master Roshi's heart flashed with a lonely regret, as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. At this moment, he thought of Piccolo Daimo's rebirth. He realized that Dan Balin was just a small character created by Piccolo Daimo. Whether it was him or Tian Xinyan, as long as they had eaten their fill and recovered their condition, it would not be difficult to deal with him. Goku and Krillin should have an easier time dealing with him. The real powerful one is Piccolo Daimo. That is not an opponent he could imagine. Without Master Mutato, it seems that this world is in danger. Mutato? Mayfuba? Master Roshi's expression suddenly brightened. No, I can't die. I should be the only human who can use Mayfuba. For world peace, my old bones that are about to be buried can shine for this world once more. Master Roshi made up his mind and chose to give up saving Tian Xinyan. He wanted to escape and then prepare the sealing tools. His death could not be worthless. He wanted to seal the Great Demon King. At this moment, the attack was about to hit Tian Xinyan. Just when Tian Xinyan closed his eyes and prepared to bear this attack honestly, a small orange figure suddenly appeared in front of him. He just waved his hand lightly, sweeping towards the energy wave. It was impossible to describe what kind of move it was. It seemed that the heaven and earth would be torn apart by that hand knife. And the whole world was eclipsed by that simple hand knife. The energy wave was immediately swept away by the hand knife and fell on the ground. After a burst of explosion, the ground was again stirred up by rolling dust. Such a move was actually knocked away by someone, and Siba was surprised. Who is it? Master Roshi and Tian Xinyan were also surprised, and they inadvertently revealed a touch of joy on their faces. The two said in unison, Goku. Son Goku turned around and looked at Master Roshi, Tian Xinyan, and Jiaoze. Although Tian Xinyan and Jiaoze were injured, it was obvious that they were both in good spirits and not dead. Grandpa Turtle, I don't think I'm late. No, it's just in time. Son Goku walked towards them, and said, Are Jiaoze and Tian Xinyan injured? Here are some senzu beans for you, eat them quickly. Son Goku took out 2 senzu beans. Master Roshi recalled that Goku had knocked away the energy bomb with his bare hands. And then he realized that Goku was very powerful, far better than him. He could kill that monster. He immediately told him, Goku, don't worry about us. That guy is very powerful and mean, go and kill him. It's okay, eat them quickly, I know. After Son Goku gave the senzu beans to Tian Xinyan, he didn't care whether they ate them or not, but turned back to look at Dan Balin. Dan Balin was stunned for a moment, flipped through the list of duels, and suddenly laughed again. Hey, the third one is here this time, Son Goku. Ha 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 ha, masters come one by one, I'm lucky, I caught another one. It just so happens that you are all my targets, let's all, Zhao Xiao, die together. As he said that, Dan Balin rushed towards Goku and punched him with a strong wind. Son Goku's eyes turned cold, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Dan Balin suddenly pounced into nothingness. Where is he? In the moment of his astonishment, Son Goku had already appeared behind him. Without a word of nonsense, Goku directly kicked him with a whip kick. This kick came with a strong wind. Dan Balin's body was like a watermelon, and it exploded in the waist with a bang. The green blood rain was sprinkled all over the ground, and he was dead immediately. Kill instantly? The upper and lower parts of Dan Balin's body fell heavily to the ground. His eyes were still open, full of astonishment and fear. It seemed that he had never expected that as the son of Piccolo Daimo, he could be killed so easily by a human. Whether it was Tian Xinyan, Master Roshi, or Jiaozi, they were all shocked and their scalps were numb the moment they saw this scene. They found that they could no longer understand Goku's power. Such a powerful monster was kicked to pieces by Goku casually. Master Roshi thought that if Tian Xinyan was in good condition, he could also defeat Dan Balin. He himself suffered from the loss of not being able to fly. However, seeing Goku kill him was as easy as crushing an ant. At this moment, Master Roshi realized that, unknowingly, Goku had grown to such a terrifying level. Goku was too strong. That kick just now was too shocking. Perhaps, even Piccolo Daimo was not his opponent. While the two were still shocked, Son Goku suggested, Master Mutant, everyone is hungry. Bulma said she would take everyone back to Kame House for dinner. I will take you back first. Eat? No, this is a life and death crisis. You are still thinking about eating? The two looked at Son Goku. Oh, well, you are strong. You don't seem to be afraid of this. Master Roshi and Tian Xinyan nodded in astonishment at the same time. Okay. Chapter 84 The Tragic Pilaf Trio. Above the white clouds, Pilaf's flying boat was slowly floating forward. The elderly Piccolo sat on a chair, playing with 6 golden dragon balls in his hands. If you find 7 dragon balls, you can make any wish come true, he he he. Pilaf, Xiaowu, and Ash looked at Piccolo Daimo with flattering faces. Pilaf nodded and agreed, he he he, that's right. Xiaowu, your majesty the great demon king's wish must be to conquer the world, right? Old Piccolo laughed, ha ha ha, do you need to use Dragon Ball to conquer the world? He clenched his wrinkled fist and said, what I want is immortality. As long as I can achieve this wish, the world will be under my rule forever, ha 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 ha. Hearing old Piccolo's wish and looking at old Piccolo's ugly and scary face, Pilaf, Xiaowu, and Ash each broke out in a cold sweat. They didn't want to release this guy, and they didn't want to surrender to others. Originally, the 3 of them had a beautiful dream of ruling the world and had already collected 6 Dragon Balls. However, even when they were fishing in the sea for Dragon Balls, they were still very busy. Ball accidentally picked up a rice cooker. I thought there was some treasure, but I didn't expect to release this terrifying monster. Now, they are really in a dilemma. Pilaf saw that the world he was about to get was going to be given to him, and he was very unwilling. But they had no other choice but to try their best to get some benefits. Pilaf complimented, "Hee, Piccolo Daimau's ideal is really interesting. I worked hard to find the rice cooker of the King of Sealing, and resurrected you in this air base, and told you the secret of Dragon Ball, and gave you 6 Dragon Balls." Hearing Pilaf talking about his contributions, Piccolo's eyes turned cold and looked at him. "What do you want to say?" Being glared at by that look, Pilaf's hair stood up immediately. No, it's nothing important, just 2. Considering that we have made so many contributions, can you give us half of the world? He. Seeing Piccolo Daimau's fierce expression made the Pilaf trio's hair stand on end again. Pilaf could only keep lowering his demands. "Give me 1/3 of the world, no, 1/4 is fine too." Under the pressure of old Piccolo, the 3 people's clothes were soaked by the water. Old Piccolo continued to play with the 6 Dragon Balls in his hand. He said, "I will consider it, but there is still 1 Dragon Ball missing and it cannot be used. You are quite good at collecting Dragon Balls, help me find them back as soon as possible." The 3 of them nodded. "Yes, we will definitely find them for you soon." At this moment, old Piccolo was suddenly startled. His face was instantly ugly, and his forehead was covered with sweat. Then he began to breathe heavily. DX. Seeing Piccolo Daimau's abnormality, the bird people were shocked. "What's wrong, Lord Demon?" Old Piccolo said in disbelief. "Dambalin is dead, incredible, what happened?" The bird people were also shocked. "What, Danbalin is dead? Is there anyone in this world who can defeat my demon warriors? I'm so angry, how could this happen?" Old Piccolo clenched his fists tightly. Pilaf said, "Such a powerful guy, this world does not exist, are you mistaken?" Old Piccolo shouted, "Can you explain why he died?" The 3 Pilafs were so scared that they trembled and dared not continue. Piccolo Daimau smashed the armrest of the chair and said angrily, "Although I don't know who did it, I want to let him know what will happen if he dares to resist me." "Piccolo Daimau, it seems that I have to use more physical strength to give birth to a stronger warrior." As he said that, old Piccolo was about to lay eggs. The Birdman subordinate immediately stopped him and said, "Sir, for your health, you must not overconsume your physical strength. If there is anything, you can wait until you regain your youth." The Birdman subordinate is also the son of old Piccolo, but he is not a combat warrior, but a human nanny. His duty is only to take care of Piccolo Daimau's daily life. He is more concerned about the health of old Piccolo. Old Piccolo breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the advice of the Birdman subordinate. Then, he swallowed 6 Dragon Balls into his mouth and looked at the Pilaf trio. "No, I can't wait too long. You guys hurry up and find the Dragon Ball for me, the sooner the better." The 3 of them were nervous again, and Pilaf's desire to survive came up. He immediately said, "Sir, the radar has searched for the signal of the Dragon Ball. We will definitely find the last Dragon Ball soon." Old Piccolo asked, "Oh, have you got the signal of the Dragon Ball?" Deg. The 3 nodded. Yes, sir, the Demon King." Old Piccolo raised 3 fingers. "Well, I'll give you 3 days to find the Dragon Ball for me." Pilaf was shocked. 3 days, isn't it too little?" Xiao Wu immediately said, "It took us 3 years to collect 6 Dragon Balls." Old Piccolo said, "Your efficiency is too slow, I don't want to wait too long. How about this, I will give birth to another flying demon warrior, and go with you to find the Dragon Ball." Hearing that he was going to create a demon warrior, Pilaf and the other 2 immediately covered their mouths. They had seen old Piccolo lay Danbalin, which was simply disgusting. He was afraid that if he vomited, he would displease the great Demon King. Although he didn't like to see eggs, he looked very happy when Pai Lajin put it in his mouth. The great Demon King is really considerate of his subordinates. It's so convenient to have a flying warrior to go with us to search for it, and to be able to search the cliffs at will. Maybe 1 day is enough. The Birdman's subordinates immediately stopped him. "No, great Demon King, you will consume your energy if you lay eggs again. This will accelerate aging, and you may die before you rule the world." Old Piccolo shook his head and said, "It doesn't matter. After my calculations, even if I have another child, I can hold on until I find the Dragon Ball and restore my youth." The Birdman was relieved to see that old Piccolo was not in a momentary state. Old Piccolo thought for a while, collect the Dragon Ball warriors, and give birth to a dragon-shaped warrior. As he said, old Piccolo began to gather strength. After a moment, he vomited out an egg with green sticky liquid. Then old Piccolo gasped hard. The Birdman's subordinates saw that he was not in a good condition and asked with concern, "Are you okay, Lord Demon?" "Nothing." Then, old Piccolo began to speak to the egg, "Come out, your name is Simbero." Damn. The egg began to crack in an instant, and then it was stretched open by the green monster inside. The monster grew bigger and bigger, and in the blink of an eye it became a 3-meter-tall dragon monster with a pair of wings on its back. Old Piccolo looked at Simbero. "Simbero, your mission is to lead them to help me find the last Dragon Ball, understand?" Simbero nodded. "Yes." Then Simbero looked at the Pilaf trio, and asked, "Do you want me to lead you 3 to find the Dragon Ball?" Pilaf looked at the tall Simbero, and his legs went limp with fear. He would be scared to death if he sat on the back of Simbero, this monster. He immediately explained, no, the radar is on the flying boat, I am responsible for observing the radar. You just need to lead my men to find the Dragon Ball. And then I will contact my men to confirm whether the direction is accurate, which is more efficient. Then, Pilaf looked at Ash and Xiao Wu. Pilaf said, Ash, you go with Mr. Simbero to find the Dragon Ball, hold the phone. I will contact you at any time and guide you. Ash's anus tightened, and he immediately retorted, no, Master Pilaf, I'm afraid of heights, have you forgotten? Pilaf immediately turned to look at Xiao Wu, then, Xiao Wu, you go. Xiao Wu also wanted to find an excuse not to go. However, old Piccolo just glanced at the three of them. Xiao Wu was so scared that she dared not refute, and could only nod helplessly. Simbero did not hesitate and lay on the ground. Xiao Wu endured the fear, took the communicator given to her by Pilaf, and climbed onto Simbero's back carefully. Simbero said, you can hold on to my dragon horn firmly, but don't fall down. It doesn't matter if you fall to death, but they will be punished for wasting the time of the great demon king to recover his youth. Xiao Wu was shocked and immediately responded, I know. As she said that, she grabbed the horns of Simbero. But, we can go. Soon, Xiao Wu hurriedly rode Simbero and flew towards the direction of the last Dragon Ball. On Bulma's plane. I'm back, Goku is back. Shishi, who was guarding the window, saw Goku's figure and immediately shouted. Everyone also looked out the window. Goku brought Master Roshi, Jiaozi, and Tian Xinyan to the plane together. Krillin saw Master Roshi and said in surprise, that's great, Master Wu Tian, it's great that you are okay. Master Roshi was stunned, you all know. Everyone nodded. Shishi said, yes, we all know. A gentleman named Shengun came and told us about Piccolo Daimao. Son Goku was curious, Mr. Shengun, who is that? Bulma wiped the sweat from his forehead, Shishi is wrong, it's not a Shengun, it's a servant of God. Servant of God? He's like Popo. Popo. Son Goku was obviously stunned. Bulma nodded, yes, in addition to telling us that Piccolo Daimao has come out, he also told us the origin of the great demon king. Everyone on the plane knows it, and you listen to me from now on, and you must not act on your own. Son Goku, Master Roshi, and Tian Xinyan all nodded. Soon, Bulma told Goku and others what Popo said. The most crucial point is that Dragon Ball is bound to Piccolo's life. Master Roshi and Tian Xinyan were obviously shocked when they heard this. They digested it for a while. Son Goku already knew the inside story and didn't have too many emotional fluctuations. He himself didn't think of killing Piccolo Daimao directly. He was alive, Dragon Ball could exist, and the benefits outweighed the disadvantages. However, this old Piccolo was the embodiment of pure evil. It seemed that he abused the egg-laying function, and his lifespan was shorter than that of the gods. He wouldn't live for a few years if he was locked up. The best way was to let him give birth to the second generation of demons like in the original work, and then send him to the west. However, what surprised Goku was that he didn't need to use his brain to do anything, because Bulma had already arranged it for him. In order to help him find Piccolo Daimao, he also prepared Dragon Ball radar. After eating and drinking, he rested for another night. At dawn the next day, Goku took the radar and rode the somersault cloud, and flew towards the only Dragon Ball shown on the radar. As for why there was only one, it was simple. The remaining 6 were in Piccolo Daimao's stomach. Goku knew it very well. However, there was no news in the world that the demon warriors were looking for Dragon Balls to kill people. So it was not normal for Piccolo Daimao to have 6 Dragon Balls. So, Goku thought that it was basically Pilaf and his gang who had gone through a lot of hardships to get these 6 Dragon Balls. Goku had already thought of the hardships that Pilaf and his gang had suffered, and they were finally able to get all the Dragon Balls, but ended up making clothes for others. Bulma's radar was extremely accurate, and the somersault cloud was also running at full speed. After 2 hours of rushing, Son Goku accurately found the trace of the Dragon Ball on a cliff. Son Goku followed the instructions of the radar and came to the bottom of the cliff. Seeing the messy stones on the ground almost piled up into a mountain, Son Goku frowned. He looked up at the mountain and instantly deduced why the Dragon Ball was deep in the rubble. It seems that the Dragon Ball fell under this cliff a few years ago, and then because of heavy rain or other reasons, a cliff broke, and fell under the cliff, broke into rubble, and buried the Dragon Ball. In short, it is not easy to find it now. Goku sighed, why did it fall in such a place? It's really troublesome. Just at this moment, a woman's voice came into Son Goku's ears. Son Goku immediately stepped back, hid and secretly looked over. I saw Xiao Wu from the Pilaf trio, and a dragon-shaped monster looking for something. That monster is undoubtedly Simbero. Xiao Wu is holding a communicator and talking on the phone. Master Pilaf, are you sure it's in this area? I see. It would be a great help if you can be more precise. Sir Simbero and I will start looking now. After saying that, Xiao Wu hung up the phone and began to carefully help me. Simbero is huge and strong. Under Xiao Wu's command, he kept helping to move stones. Sir Simbero, it's here. Dig deeper. The Dragon Ball should be deep in this pile of stones. After saying that, Simbero started to move stones again. Seeing them moving stones to look for the Dragon Ball, Son Goku decisively retreated to the shade. He looked at his Dragon Ball radar and then at Xiao Wu's position. Son Goku secretly sighed, I have to say that the radars made by Pilaf and his team are getting more and more accurate. They also brought a strong Simbero to work. It's great. In this case, let them look for it. Son Goku's goal is not the Dragon Ball, but Piccolo Daimao. When they find the Dragon Ball, they will definitely return. Son Goku just needs to follow and he can easily find Piccolo Daimao. Chapter 85 Piccolo Doubts About Life. On Pilaf's flying boat. Great Demon Lord, the last Dragon Ball has been found? They are on their way back now. Pilaf received Xiao Wu's message and immediately told Piccolo Daimao the good news. Old Piccolo couldn't hide his joy and laughed. Ha 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 ha, that's great, I'm about to regain my youthful vitality. The Birdman's subordinates were also very happy. Great, it was found so quickly. Great Demon Lord, you are really amazing. Ashiyu smiled and said, as long as the Great Demon Lord regains his youth, he will be even more invincible. Pilaf and Ash flattered old Piccolo. They seemed to see Piccolo Daimao regain his youth. The three of them were separated into a corner, and from then on they had only a happy life. Please give me flowers, please give me a monthly ticket. Soon after, Xiao Wu and Simbero came back. Xiao Wu respectfully presented the last Dragon Ball, and then ran to Pilaf's side. It was too stressful to be around old Piccolo. Old Piccolo pinched the last Dragon Ball with 2 fingers, and his happy face had more wrinkles. It was so smooth to get all 7 Dragon Balls. Ha 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 ha. Speaking, old Piccolo looked at Pilaf. What is the ritual to summon Shenron? Tell me quickly. Pilaf immediately said, put the 7 Dragon Balls together, and then shout, come out, Shenron, and make my wish come true. Shenron will appear, and then you just need to make a wish. Old Piccolo nodded and asked again, is it that simple? The Pilaf trio immediately nodded in unison. Yes, it's that simple, Piccolo Daimao. Old Piccolo smiled, very good, then land, I'm going to summon Shenron. Soon, Pilaf drove the flying boat and landed on the ground. Piccolo and others also got off the flying boat. Old Piccolo opened his mouth and spit out all 6 Dragon Balls. The 7 Dragon Balls gathered together and immediately emitted a golden light. Sinbaru's eyes lit up immediately when he saw Piccolo Daimao was about to summon Shenron. However, just as the summoning ceremony was about to begin, a figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. Who else could it be but Son Goku? When Sinbaru saw Son Goku, he immediately became furious. Who is this? He suddenly appeared in front of us. Do you want to die? Son Goku ignored him, and his eyes did not stay on Sinbaru, but looked directly at Piccolo. His height and body size were half that of an adult, which gave people a sense of oppression. He did not look like a good person. However, Piccolo had too many wrinkles on his body. Son Goku could clearly feel the strong aura of death emanating from him. It seemed that he would die of aging in a few days. Son Goku was also curious about what he had done in the past few days. He actually squeezed his life so dry? The Pilaf trio were all shocked to see Son Goku coming here. Pilaf stepped forward and yelled, hey, kid, why are you here? This is not a place you can come to. Pilaf raised his thumb and pointed at Piccolo Daimao beside him, saying, do you know who this is? He is the terrifying and invincible Piccolo Daimao. Why don't you get out of here? Old Piccolo couldn't help but raise his mouth when he saw the figure of little Goku. Hehe, kid, you actually came when I gathered the Dragon Ball. Are you trying to snatch the Dragon Ball from me? Son Goku shook his head, no. The response did not meet Piccolo's expectations, and he choked for a while. Son Goku said honestly, I'm not here to find the Dragon Ball, but to kill you, Piccolo. Old Piccolo was stunned for a moment, and suddenly burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, it's so funny. You know my name, but you dare to come and kill me. Humans really overestimate their own abilities. Sinbaru, kill him. Yes, Lord Demon. When Pilaf and the other 2 heard Piccolo ordering Sinbaru to kill, they immediately shrank aside in fear. Sinbaru suddenly jumped and attacked Goku. Son Goku looked at old Piccolo without looking away, and casually raised his hand, pointing his palm at Sinbaru. In an instant, an inconspicuous gas bomb suddenly blasted towards Sinbaru, and Sinbaru exploded instantly, and nothing was left. The violent explosion also set off a breeze, leaving nothing behind. Everyone was stunned on the spot, and for a while they didn't react to what happened. The next moment, Piccolo Daimao covered his head with both hands and roared in pain. Ah, damn it! You little devil, you easily killed my Demon Clan's War King in front of me. Son Goku continued, Piccolo, my goal is not only him, but to kill you. What did you say? Kill me. You are too arrogant. As if thinking of something, old Piccolo's pupils shrank. Could it be, Dambaran died in your hands? Son Goku nodded, yes, don't be so surprised, killing him is just like crushing an ant. Hearing that he killed Dambaran, old Piccolo suddenly became angry. He tore off his cloak and said, you are so hateful. Even if I don't have much time left, I will let you taste the horror of me, Piccolo Daimao. As he said that, old Piccolo shouted and attacked Son Goku fiercely. The sharp claws stabbed towards Goku silently, and the anti-Buddha pavilion instantly pierced Goku's heart. However, after old Piccolo made a move with confidence, the figure of Son Goku in front of him disappeared instantly. He dodged, but old Piccolo didn't notice. His thoughts stagnated for a moment. The next moment, Son Goku appeared above him again, and old Piccolo's hand was like a bayonet, stabbing at Son Goku. Unfortunately, even though he was so fast that countless afterimages appeared, he couldn't touch Son Goku. The next moment, Son Goku kicked old Piccolo in the stomach with his backhand. Old Piccolo's eyes suddenly bulged out, covered with fine red cracks, and his mouth opened wide. Then, old Piccolo's body shot out backwards, smashing a large piece of rock. Old Piccolo's body was buried in the rocks and billowing smoke. Son Goku didn't intend to kill him, so he didn't hit him hard, he just waited for him to come out by the rubble. Seeing this scene, Pilaf and the other two were shocked. Oh no, after 3 years, has Son Goku become so powerful now? Piccolo Daimao won't lose, right? Ash turned to look at Pilaf and asked, King, do you think we still have time to escape now? When Xiao Wu saw Son Goku beating up Piccolo Daimao, her face immediately showed admiration. She immediately covered her red cheeks with her hands. Compared to Piccolo Daimao, I still think it's better that Son Goku won. The way he beats people is so handsome. Pilaf looked at her immediately after hearing Xiao Wu's words. However, from this perspective, Pilaf happened to see Xiao Wu behind her, with 7 Dragon Balls neatly tied around her waist. A bold idea suddenly came to Pilaf. Pilaf whispered, Xiao Wu, Ash, while they are fighting, let's steal the Dragon Ball and hide it far away to summon Shenron, right? Xiao Wu and Ash were stunned for a moment, and both looked at the Dragon Ball. Xiao Wu said, My lord, these 7 Dragon Balls were found after 3 years of hard work, and they should have been ours. That's right, Xiao Wu, Ash, go quickly, and be sure to be quiet. Ash and Xiao Wu looked at each other, and then immediately tiptoed towards the Dragon Ball. Son Goku hit Piccolo into the rubble, and soon there was movement in the rubble, and Piccolo walked out of the rubble. He looked at Son Goku, recalling the terrifying power of his kick, and at this moment he couldn't help but tremble in his eyes, his pupils kept shrinking, and he had doubted his life. Damn, what's going on? I've only been asleep for 300 years, how could such a powerful guy appear in the world? Seeing Son Goku standing there easily and confidently, Piccolo suddenly had an idea. Hehe, I have to admit that you are very powerful. But no matter how powerful you are, you will definitely not dare to withstand this move of mine. Son Goku scratched his head and asked back, Oh, Piccolo, are you using provocation? It was obviously a little kid, but he easily broke his thoughts. Old Piccolo was shocked and cold sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. VR. Just as Piccolo was about to say something else, Son Goku replied, Okay, in order to make you give up, show your trick. The corners of Piccolo's mouth immediately showed a slight arc. He immediately gathered his strength, and the golden aura continued to gather towards his palms, and the muscles all over his body also bulged slightly. Almost all the strength of the body was concentrated in his hands, and the corners of the old Piccolo's mouth finally showed a cruel smile. Go to hell. As he said, the old Piccolo pointed his palm at Son Goku. A wave of energy suddenly hit him. Boom. After a violent explosion, Son Goku was submerged in a sea of smoke and dust. Old Piccolo finally couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha, idiot. You definitely won't survive if I hit you head on with this move. At this moment, a strong wind blew away the smoke and dust. Son Goku appeared, spotless and unharmed. He looked at Piccolo and asked, Hey, what are you grinning about? Old Piccolo was startled again. What? How is this possible? He looked at the unharmed Son Goku, then lowered his head to his hands, and said in disbelief, Damn it, I am old, but my strength has dropped so much. Even the strongest charged attack couldn't hurt Son Goku at all. Old Piccolo seemed to have finally realized the reality that he couldn't beat him. He couldn't help but clench his fists, and roared to the sky, Dragon Ball, or Dragon Ball? I won't give up. If I can get the Dragon Ball earlier, if I can restore the power of youth, I Piccolo Daimao will not be defeated. After roaring, K covered his chest and gasped. Son Goku's eyes lit up. Want to lay eggs? Do I need to avoid it? However, Piccolo Daimao just gasped a few times and returned to normal. The fight just now seemed to involve his lifespan, and his energy dropped again. Son Goku frowned. I was just teasing him casually, he wouldn't be so angry, right? The child hasn't been born yet, don't die? Son Goku couldn't help but pray. At this moment, the sky that was originally clear was suddenly covered with dark clouds, lightning, and thunder. Old Piccolo was startled, looked up at the sky, and asked, Why is it suddenly dark? What's going on? Son Goku explained, Oh, that's the Dragon Ball you mentioned? Shenron will be out soon. If you want to make a wish, you can try it quickly. I won't stop you. If you are late, the wish will be used up by them. Old Piccolo's eyes lit up. What? You asked me to make a wish? Do you also want to see my power in my prime? Goku nodded and said, Even if it is, you have to go quickly. Old Piccolo was very surprised and flew towards the direction of the lightning secret book. Among the countless thunder and lightning, a golden light snaked into the sky, forming a dragon shape, and Shenron's body slowly became clear. At this moment, Son Goku also followed. Shenron completely unfolded his body, lowered his head and said to Pilaf and the other two, Tell me your wish, any wish can be fulfilled. Pilaf was overjoyed and immediately said, Shenron, please let us rule. Before he finished speaking, an energy wave suddenly blasted towards them from the side of Shenron. Pilaf stopped talking halfway. The three of them also saw a wonderful scene at the same time, that is, Shenron and death came at the same time. That kind of energy wave, they can't bear it. As long as it hits them a little, they will be directly scattered. Oh, the approach of the energy bomb made the three people foresee their own death at the same time. The three of them felt a strong sense of unwillingness at this moment. Pilaf, I was too careless, I knew I should have been farther away. Ash, why didn't I run a few more steps? Wivuo, I'm going to die. Xiao Wu, Weevu, why are we always so unlucky? Just when the energy bomb was about to drown the three people, an orange figure suddenly appeared. It was Son Goku. He casually waved his hand knife and casually knocked the energy bullet away. The energy fell on the rock and formed a small depression. The three of them took a deep breath when they saw this scene, and were glad that they survived. The three of them also began to wonder why Son Goku saved them. Xiao Wu's eyes suddenly flashed with wisdom, as if she had thought of the answer. Her face suddenly turned red. Master Pilaf, he just saved us. Do you think he is in love with me? Pilaf and Ash were shocked. Ash said, Xiao Wu, I forgot that you are a woman. Pilaf looked at Son Goku in disbelief, then looked at Xiao Wu, and said, you know what, it is possible. Xiao Wu, King Kun treats you well, right? After Pilaf said this, Xiao Wu immediately understood, and said, Master Pilaf, what are you talking about? You are always very good to me. Pilaf rubbed his hands and said, then, if you become his woman in the future, don't forget the organization. You must help us find the Dragon Ball in secret. Xiao Wu nodded immediately, Master Pilaf, I will never forget you. At this moment, old Piccolo also came to Shenron. Just now, he saw Son Goku saving these three fools with his own eyes, and a strong disdain flashed in his eyes. It was a waste of effort to save these three useless guys. However, Son Goku stood in front of the three people, and old Piccolo didn't think about them anymore. They were just three wastes. Killing or not does not affect his sharing. His only goal at this moment is to restore youth. Old Piccolo looked at Shenron and piously asked, please let me restore my youth, okay? Shenron's eyes lit up red, and a mysterious power descended on Piccolo. In an instant, old Piccolo's body crackled. The wrinkles on his skin disappeared, and he regained his smooth green skin. Piccolo couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha, I feel the energy growing. I am full of vitality. So cool. After completing old Piccolo's wish, Shenron said, your wish has come true, so goodbye. After that, Shenron smoothly turned into a golden light and drilled into the Dragon Ball. And then the 7 Dragon Balls were scattered all over the world again. Son Goku looked at him intently, as if wondering why he didn't kill Shenron. He remembered that Piccolo killed Shenron immediately after fulfilling his wish. Then the god resurrected Shenron, and Shenron's CD was restored immediately. If he hadn't killed Shenron, those who died would have to wait a year to be resurrected. Piccolo turned around and looked at Son Goku. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to regain my youth. To repay you, I will use my strongest power to kill you. 5. Chapter 86, Repaying the favor of saving my life with my own body. After old Piccolo regained his youth, he looked very confident, just like Vegeta who had just come out of seclusion. Son Goku hooked his finger at him and said, come on, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Before he could finish his words, Piccolo rushed towards Son Goku at an extremely fast speed and punched him hard. That kind of power and speed made Piccolo, who had just regained his youth, feel terrible. He felt that his punch could destroy a small town. An energy wave could destroy a city. No matter how strong this kid was, he would die on the spot under such a powerful punch. However, after such a powerful punch, the scene he expected did not appear. The powerful fist was actually blocked by Son Goku at this moment. His chubby little hand actually clenched his fist. Piccolo wanted to pull out his arm, but found that Goku was holding him too hard and he could not shake it at all. Piccolo was shocked. What's going on? How could this happen? He had just regained his youth and made a move, and he doubted himself. Impossible, absolutely impossible? You can't catch my moves. Son Goku looked at Piccolo. What's wrong? Lu Ling, are you doubting your life? Did you find that even if you regained your youth, you are still not my opponent? Piccolo was still trying to pull back his arm, and the expression on his face was particularly wonderful because of the effort. Son Goku let go of his hand, and Piccolo suddenly pulled his arm out, and then immediately retreated, pulling away from Son Goku. A drop of cold sweat appeared on his forehead, and he asked, are you a human being? How can there be a guy like you in the world? Son Goku looked at him indifferently. You keep chattering like this, and you are still a big devil? Are you trying to chat with me to delay time? Sorry, I'm not very good at chatting. Besides, you are too weak to arouse my interest in fighting. If you don't have any other skills, I can kill you. Piccolo said angrily, damn you damn human. You hurt my self-esteem in this way, I will never forgive you. Piccolo took a deep breath and said, although I know this will shorten my life, but you forced me to do it, and now I have to use all my strength. Son Goku looked at Piccolo Daimao with interest. He took a horse stance, and all his muscles were tense. His aura was also rising at this moment, and his blood vessels were bulging, and his green skin made him look ferocious and terrifying. As the strong aura continued to gather on him, the earth also shook in an instant. A moment later, Piccolo's aura reached a new height. He raised his arm with a grin, and suddenly waved it towards Son Goku. In an instant, a violent gust of wind blew towards Son Goku. In an instant, it was like a 12-level gale, instantly tearing Goku's whole body with force. However, even so, Son Goku still stood there motionless. His aura floated on the surface, and this gale could not hurt Goku at all. Only the flying dust in the sky demonstrated how strong Piccolo's slap in the air was. The gale dissipated. Son Goku nodded. Said, well, indeed, after using the secret technique, it is a little stronger than before. What is this move? Piccolo laughed. Hee hee, are you still pretending to be calm? Do you think I can consume my life and just increase my strength a little bit? Son Goku responded, isn't it? For you, it may be that the strength has doubled or even several times. But for me, there is no difference between the strength of an ant and several ants, I can't feel it. Piccolo's pupils shrank. Damn it, you dare to say that I, Piccolo Daimao, am an ant, too arrogant. As he said, Piccolo Daimao punched Son Goku angrily. Let you taste my real power. Piccolo's punch hit Son Goku's forehead with lightning speed. Son Goku stood there motionless. Sure enough, Piccolo's attack hit him directly on the forehead. However, the attacked Goku didn't react at all, still standing there motionless. Son Goku sighed sadly. 33. Son Goku raised his knee and hit Piccolo in the abdomen. After being attacked, Piccolo's back suddenly bulged, his mouth opened wide, disgusting saliva flowed out, and his legs couldn't help but thump. He walked towards Piccolo Daimao step by step. Piccolo retreated with panic. He had just regained his youth, and even if he couldn't beat him, he didn't want to die. But in front of such a powerful guy like Son Goku, he couldn't think of any way to survive. In the temple, the god saw Son Goku beating Piccolo Daimao. His eyes were full of complexity, but more of it was relief. This little guy is really powerful. Piccolo Daimao couldn't even get past him. It seems that it's time for me to say goodbye to this world. When Son Goku was about to use his last move on Piccolo, the god closed his eyes peacefully. However, a moment later, the god found that he was not dead. He couldn't help but open his eyes. He looked at the human world again, looking at the position of Piccolo. I saw that Piccolo actually pinched Xiao Wu's head to help Son Goku. Don't come over. I'll crush her head if you come over. Son Goku was stunned. What are you doing? Are you trying to threaten me? Piccolo said angrily, don't pretend. I just saw you save the three of them. You must know each other, and you must be trying to save her life. You don't want me to crush her head, do you? Son Goku frowned and said, you are Piccolo Daimao after all. Just tell me what you want to do. Actually, I'm not very familiar with her, so we can be considered strangers. It's meaningless to threaten me with a stranger like this. Son Goku said, and walked forward. Seeing that he was still walking, Piccolo's anus suddenly tightened, and he immediately shouted, don't move, stand still, if you move, she will die. As he said, Piccolo added a little more strength. I don't know if it was because of fear or because it was too painful. Xiao Wu cried out and shed tears. Seeing that Xiao Wu seemed to be killed, Son Goku stopped. The corners of Piccolo's mouth immediately revealed the joy of success. He thought to himself, hehe, it worked, he stopped. Sure enough, the weakness of human beings lies in this kind of mental fragility, even a stranger can be saved. Sure enough, only cold-blooded people can rule the world. Piccolo bent down and picked up a stone. He exhaled and shot the stone directly at Son Goku's knee at a speed faster than a bullet. Pop! The stone bounced off. Son Goku blinked and asked, what are you doing? Piccolo's eyes fixed, useless. Son Goku sneered, Piccolo, you don't think this thing can break my legs, do you? Piccolo's pupils shrank. He couldn't help but curse inwardly, this guy, doesn't he have any weaknesses? It's over, in this case, I can only run away. Piccolo roared, don't follow me, or I'll crush her head. Son Goku said calmly, let her go, in exchange, I'll let you go this time. Piccolo raised his mouth and said, do you think I will believe it? We demons are not as naive as you humans. You are not allowed to follow us. So, Piccolo held Xiao Wu hostage and fled madly into the distance. He was right. He was the evil Piccolo Daimao. How could Son Goku really let him go? He still followed him from a distance. Son Goku guessed that Piccolo was afraid of catching up with him and killing him directly, so he must not dare to kill the hostage. Piccolo saw Goku following him from a distance, and his eyes turned. It seemed that a light bulb flashed in his mind, and he immediately thought of a way. He used all his strength to throw Xiao Wu in the third direction. Xiao Wu screamed and flew backwards, and Piccolo even added strength and flew madly in the original direction. Seeing this scene, Son Goku showed a strange look at the corner of his mouth. Although this guy is bad, his brain is still quite useful. 2.6 Son Goku immediately turned and flew towards Xiao Wu. According to Piccolo's strength, Xiao Wu could fly hundreds of miles like Tao Bibai's pillar. Fortunately, Goku was faster and soon caught up with Xiao Wu and saved her. She wanted to thank Son Goku for saving her life. But being thrown so far away, Xiao Wu's legs were so frightened that they softened, and her whole body was shaking. Her legs were tightly clamped together, and a stream of crystal liquid scattered across the sky. Xiao Wu was shocked and ashamed to find that she had peed herself. But fortunately, she found that Son Goku didn't notice it, so she could only secretly rejoice. Son Goku's attention was all on Piccolo. After putting her on the ground, he chased in the direction of Piccolo Daimao again. Xiao Wu, who had recovered, looked at Goku's back was filled with excited tears. Is this what it means to be a hero saving a beautiful woman? What a happy feeling. Wow, he's so handsome. It's said on TV that you can only repay a life-saving favor with your body. But what if he doesn't like me? Oh, I'd be happy even if he asked me to be his maid. It's over, what am I talking about? I'm completely in love and I'm about to drown. Chapter 87 First Meeting with Number 18. Piccolo Daimao has already fled for thousands of miles. He flew over the mountains, over the terraced fields, and now he is over a sea. However, no matter what terrain he escapes in, he still cannot escape Son Goku's pursuit. Because of the huge speed difference, Son Goku's figure is getting closer and closer, like the sickle of the god of death hanging over his head. He dare not relax at all and still runs with all his strength. However, even if he runs for his life, according to the speed he sensed, he calculated, it only takes another minute for that kid to catch up. Sweat broke out on his forehead again. Damn, why is this guy so fast? If this goes on, I will definitely die. Piccolo clenched his fists angrily, and despair enveloped his whole body. I am so angry, I am Piccolo Daimao, but I am forced to this extent. Little did he know that Son Goku could actually catch up with him very quickly. Forcing him like this is to force him to lay an egg and let the egg survive. Unfortunately, this guy just couldn't understand what Son Goku meant. Son Goku was also helpless in chasing him. It seems that he has to be told directly before he will understand. Just when Piccolo Daimao felt desperate, a small island in front of him came into view. There was a forest on the island, and there were countless animals. Piccolo pondered for a while, or, hide in the forest on the island. However, as soon as this idea came out, Piccolo shook his head. This idea was too stupid. There were many animals and birds in the forest. If he went down, he would definitely scare a group of birds. Wouldn't he be caught directly? He gritted his teeth and spent some life again, and the speed increased a little. On the coast of the island, a little blonde girl was walking on the beach and playing. She was about 7 or 8 years old, with a pair of ponytails on her head. Under her long eyelashes, a pair of blue eyes were smart and bright. Her little nose was raised high, which made her look particularly playful and cute. The blue sea water surged onto the beach layer by layer with the waves, submerging her white feet. The waves retreated, swept away a lot of fine sand, and left behind a few small lives in the sea. The fine sand once again crossed his toes, bringing her a touch of coolness, as if she was enjoying a comfortable afternoon life. The little girl couldn't help but moan, well, today's water temperature is so cool and comfortable. At this moment, a small crab was stuck behind a stone, and was seen by the girl. A trace of joy appeared on her face. Hey, crab, so good. She immediately ran to the crab, and tried to catch it with one hand. It seemed that she lived by the sea and was proficient in the skills of catching the sea. The little girl easily pinched the two sides of the crab's back cover. No matter how it stretched its teeth and claws, it couldn't hurt the girl at all. Ha ha ha, it was caught, and it will have another meal in the evening. Suddenly, she found that another small crab was stopped behind the stone in front. The girl grabbed this crab again. So, in just a few breaths, she was fighting with a crab in each hand. However, at this moment, the third crab came into view. However, both her hands were occupied. Ah, damn, I bumped into another one. She looked back at the coast, and there was no one. She seemed a little angry, and her white little feet stomped hard on the wet beach. It's so annoying, what is that guy Lapis doing? Why hasn't he come for so long? If he comes, I can catch more crabs, and I'll have a snack in the evening. She stood on tiptoe and couldn't help looking further away. However, Lapis still didn't appear. But she saw a green figure flying in the sky in this direction. The girl couldn't help but ask curiously, hey, what's that in the sky? It seemed that he noticed that she was looking at the sky, and Piccolo in the sky also looked at her. That figure was Piccolo Daimao, who was running away frantically. At this moment, Piccolo had already seen Son Goku chasing behind him. As expected, he couldn't escape. However, seeing the little girl on the beach, he seemed to have found hope of survival again. The next moment, Piccolo rushed to the little girl and grabbed her head. Stop, if you chase me again, I'll crush her head. Son Goku, who was chasing behind him, saw that Piccolo had captured another hostage and stopped again. He looked at the little girl in Piccolo's hand. The girl was very beautiful, with a delicate face like a porcelain doll and childishness. She was smaller than him, about 10 years old. A trace of helplessness flashed in Son Goku's eyes. Piccolo Daimao laughed immediately when he saw him stop. Ha 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 ha, I like to take advantage of this weakness of you humans. Don't move, or I'll crush him to death. Son Goku looked at Piccolo with burning eyes and said, do you think you can run away? I know you have done many evil things, so I can't let you go. But, there is a glimmer of hope. Piccolo was curious, what do you mean? Son Goku said, this is the first time I have seen a person like you on Earth. It would be a pity if you were extinct. But you have done too many bad things, so you will definitely die. You can leave one of your offspring. After I kill you, I can let your offspring go and let your race continue. Piccolo was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, sorry. I finally regained my freedom and youth, but I haven't enjoyed it for a day. Compared to letting my offspring reproduce, don't I want to survive more? Son Goku said coldly, do you think it's possible? Piccolo smiled, of course it's possible, it depends on people. While speaking, Piccolo pointed his fingertips, and a ray of light penetrated the girl's belly. The girl burst into tears instantly. Son Goku was startled, what are you doing? Thinking that Son Goku would rush over quickly, Piccolo's anus tightened, and immediately said, don't come over if you don't want him to die. I didn't hurt her vitals, as long as you take her to see a doctor now, she won't die. Otherwise, he. Piccolo showed a treacherous smile. Son Goku's eyes condensed. In order to survive, this guy's brain is really fast. As he spoke, Piccolo used the same trick again, and threw the crying little girl in a third direction. If you want to catch Piccolo, you can't save the child. Son Goku rushed to the little girl without saying a word, and caught her in just a few seconds. Piccolo, who was not far away, laughed and said, if you don't want her to die, send her to see a doctor immediately. I'm leaving, ha ha ha. After that, Piccolo fled away in a triumphant manner. Osososos. The girl's sobbing was heard. Son Goku lowered his head and looked at the girl in his arms. Because of excessive blood loss, her face was a little pale, and her crying became a little weak. At this moment, her blue eyes looked at Son Goku. She asked in a soft voice, brother, will I die? No. Son Goku said affirmatively. Then he immediately sent the girl back to the ground. Son Goku held her in one hand and took out a senzu bean from his pocket with the other hand. Come, eat this bean. The girl blinked her tearful eyes, then opened her mouth obediently. Son Goku put the bean into her mouth. After a few crunching sounds, the girl swallowed the beans. Her pierced abdomen was restored to its original state, and her weak and pale face became rosy in an instant. The girl was surprised, and she immediately lifted up the t-shirt with a hole and blood stains, revealing her flat belly. The wound disappeared, and there was no scar. The girl couldn't help but say in surprise, brother, what did you give me to eat? I'm actually healed, and I don't feel any pain at all. Son Goku said, it's senzu beans. The girl looked at Son Goku curiously and asked, senzu beans? What a strange name. Could it be the beans from the gods? Just now I saw my brother flying, could it be that you are a fairy? Son Goku touched the girl's head, and said with a smile, you are so smart, you guessed half right. I am not a fairy, but this is indeed the fairy beans sent by the fairy. Okay, now you are fine, I have to go. Just now the bad guy ran away, I have to chase him. Son Goku glanced at the beach, and then looked at the girl and asked, where are your parents? You are so young, it is also dangerous at the beach, hurry home. The little girl nodded, and then got up from Son Goku's arms. Dad and brother are in the cabin in the forest. Brother will come to find me in a while, you don't have to worry about me. Big brother, go chase the bad guys. Son Goku nodded and said, well, kid, goodbye. After that, Son Goku chased Piccolo in the direction he left. Goodbye, big brother. The little girl waved to Son Goku who was going away. Soon, Son Goku disappeared. Looking at Son Goku's strange hairstyle and the tail behind him, many question marks were buried in the girl's heart, making her interested in him. She touched the bloody hole on her clothes and looked at her smooth belly, feeling a little dazed. What happened just now is real, I'm not dreaming, that brother saved me. Hey, I seem to have forgotten to ask his name. What a pity. Just at this moment, a little boy who was about the same height as her walked towards her. He was holding a basket in his hand, and when he saw the girl, he shouted, Lazuli, I'm here. Let's go catch crabs. The girl looked at the boy and nodded, okay, but the blood stains on her clothes were seen by the boy. The boy was obviously stunned for a moment, and he pointed at the blood stains on Lazuli's clothes with some fear, and said in horror, you are bleeding, Lazuli. Lazuli shook her head. It's okay, don't make a fuss. Hundreds of miles away, Piccolo was beaten all over, with blue veins all over his body. Countless wounds kept dripping green blood on the road. He once again distanced himself from Son Goku. This bastard is determined to kill me and won't leave me any chance to live. I'm so angry. Piccolo thought about the way Goku gave him to live. Now that he had tried every possible way to escape, he finally gave in. He clenched his fists and said viciously, we demons are not so easy to be exterminated by you. Since you want me to die, I will use up all my life essence to give birth to a child who is born purely for fighting. As he said, Piccolo gathered his strength to make an egg that he had poured countless efforts into. The egg flew towards the small river in the distance. The moment he spit out the egg, his breath also became weak. My child, remember, one day you must avenge your father. As he said, he turned his head to meet Son Goku who was getting closer and closer. Humph, you caught up so quickly. Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. As he said, Piccolo shot towards Son Goku. All the aura in his body gathered together, and his body instantly swelled up when he approached Goku. He was going to self-destruct. When he got close to Son Goku, Piccolo laughed fiercely. If you let me die, I will also drag you down. Let's die together, ha 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 ha. Piccolo's body completely exploded, and the huge explosion submerged Son Goku, forming a huge mushroom cloud that rose into the sky. After the smoke and dust dissipated, a large pit with a radius of 100 miles appeared on the ground. However, in the sky above, Son Goku was floating in the air without any injury. He brushed off the dust on his body and said, you want to drag me to be buried with you before you die? Boring. The self-explosion due to insufficient strength only made Son Goku stained with a little dust. The god on the god's robe had a complicated expression when he saw this ending. Of course, he was more relieved. He turned his head and looked at the servant Bobo beside him. Bobo, Piccolo's matter, could it be you? Bobo nodded and said, Lord God, you guessed right, I did it. I think the world cannot be without gods, so in order to let you live, I made a deal with them in the lower world. The wrinkled face of the god showed a kind smile. Thank you, Bobo. Chapter 88 3 years passed in a blink of an eye, and I grew up. Came house. Piccolo Daimao was taken away by Goku. Everyone gathered together to celebrate Krillin's wedding and the restoration of nuclear peace to the earth. Shino and Shishi were busy in the kitchen cooking for everyone. Everyone else was happily chatting around the table. Just now they were talking about how powerful and cruel Piccolo Daimao was. Now they are talking about how to practice in the temple in the future. Basic strength training and physical training are just a foundation. The real way to go to the next level is to practice in the mind. But everyone knows what is going on, but not why. Even Master Rashi knows a little bit. In short, several people are looking forward to practicing in the temple. Master Rashi, who is bored, turned on the TV. The usual yoga activities were not performed, and expert lectures were broadcast. On the day when the martial arts competition ended, the news of dozens of deaths and injuries was on TV. The demon character on the body of the deceased was also exposed through TV. Many people have learned about Piccolo Daimao's resurrection through clues. After all, hundreds of years ago, Piccolo Daimao once turned the world into a hell. Even though Piccolo Daimao's story has been around for 300 years, it is still widely circulated. So, even though Piccolo Daimao has not had time to wreak havoc on the world, he has already brought panic to people and brought them endless psychological pressure. In addition to broadcasting the incident on TV, more experts are asked to come out to calm people's hearts. Various remarks emerge in an endless stream, and the most popular ones are experts who show how powerful human weapons are. Times have changed. When Piccolo Daimao was in his prime, it was 300 years ago when he was backward. Not to mention that the food and clothing were relatively backward, the martial arts were also very poor. At most, flintlocks and muskets were dead. Now that technology has developed rapidly for 300 years, it is no longer comparable to the past. Under nuclear bombs, all beings are equal. 10 big demons are not enough to explode. Seeing all the nonsense on TV, and one after another, Master Rashi turned off the TV. Hey, there are no more beautiful girls doing yoga on TV, it's so boring. Tian Xinyan said. Piccolo Daimao was eliminated so quickly. I thought it would not affect people's lives. I didn't expect that all the channels on TV have been showing this these 2 days. Yamsha suggested, why not? Let's contact the TV station and tell them that Piccolo Daimao is dead. Bulma thought about it and nodded. That's right, then I'll contact the TV station. As she said that, Bulma walked to the phone and dialed the TV station's number. Hello, is this the TV station? I have good news for you all. Piccolo Daimao has been eliminated and the world is at peace. Yes, that's right. He's dead. Well, you asked me who killed me. As he said that, Zaima looked at Son Goku. Son Goku was startled and immediately shook his head, indicating that it was not him. Bulma smiled and said, of course it was someone who upholds justice. After that, Bulma hung up the phone. Just then, Sinyo began to shout, it's time to eat. Bulma also put down the phone and quickly got busy. It's time to eat. Go wash your hands first. Goku, help remove all the melon seeds and peanuts on the table. Krillin, help serve the dishes, it's more. Because Kame House is relatively small, not many people can live there. In addition, they have been training in Karen Tower for many years, and they almost forgot how to live a normal life. So, after dinner, Bulma took Goku and Shishi to Zido. In the next few days, the three of them were more relaxed. Shishi and Bulma go shopping every day. Goku eats 3 meals a day, each meal is enough for 50 people. They finally enjoyed a few days of relaxing and comfortable time. Krillin felt that he should have a home, and he exchanged a lot of money for the treasure he found with Goku and Shishi. After exchanging the money, Krillin took Sinyo to buy a house and a car. After careful selection, they bought a small villa of several hundred square meters and a car. After buying the house and car, they went to the furniture store to customize various furniture, and went to the electrical appliance store to buy electrical appliances. After a few days of tossing and decorating, their house is becoming more and more like a home. However, after a few days of not practicing, whether it is Krillin, Goku and Shishi, I started to feel uncomfortable all over. Fortunately, it was almost time to go to the temple, and everyone packed their bags and prepared to leave. As we all know, gravity training can quickly improve a person's strength and speed. Improving basic combat power is the foundation of everything. Bulma thought that a group of Kame Senryu warriors must be well organized, so she helped make a few more gravity bracelets, and gave one each to Tian Xinyan, Jiaozi, and Yamsha. The day Popo came, the magic carpet was packed. They boarded the temple with Goku, Krillin, and Shishi. Since then, Popo teacher has officially come online. The training of strength, they understand nothing more than gravity training. Wearing a gravity bracelet, doing strength training with weights, or fighting each other. However, Popo warned them that it is wrong to practice in a monotonous way forever. The world is big, you should go to the wonderful world to explore. Instead of repeating the same martial arts practice every day, if you repeat it for a long time, the body will adapt. When the body completely enters the comfort zone, it is probably difficult to make any progress. It will soon reach a bottleneck. Everyone is curious about how Popo will train. As a result, Popo directly sent them to different virtual time and space, and asked them to find various masters to learn from. There are martial arts masters hundreds of years ago, the young crane immortal, Master Rashi. There are lightning-fast sub-ohms, and various martial arts masters with high realms. Such training had never been seen before. It really opened the door to a new world for several people. Each of them was looking forward to being sent to an interesting world to adventure. The purpose of Popo's teaching was very simple, but it would take a long time to comprehend it, and it might not be mastered even if it took a lifetime. The heart was as quiet as the sky. The movements were as fast as lightning. Use the breath to sense the opponent. Use the flow of the wind to judge the enemy's moves. There was even training to make the body react reasonably without thinking. Son Goku thought to himself that it seemed that in this world, God was not necessarily very strong, but the servants of God were all terribly strong and bottomless. In a blink of an eye, 3 years later, Goku grew taller and became a fly. Except for him, everyone else naturally became stronger. The god looked at the people who had been practicing for 3 years, and a smile appeared on his wrinkled face. I have good news for you all. After my efforts in communication over the past few days, Lord Kai, who manages the Western Galaxy, finally agreed to accept a disciple. After this world's first martial arts tournament, the fortune teller will take you to the underworld, and then you will run the entire snake path by yourself, and there will be King Kai's planet. Everyone was surprised to hear that King Kai accepted a disciple. Tian Xinyan, as expected of a god, he actually has such connections, amazing. Krillin, I'm so nervous, I haven't had time to recite jokes yet, what should I do? Jiaozi, Krillin, it's okay, you look funny, no matter whether the jokes you tell are funny or not, Lord Kai will laugh. Son Goku rubbed his head and asked, God, how did you think of introducing us to Lord Kai? The god smiled. Bulma asked me to contact her. She said that the limit of the gravity bracelet is only a dozen times the gravity. If it is higher, the bracelet will break too easily. Unless you build a gravity room, but if you practice in the gravity room, then the meaning of practice is lost. She didn't know where she got it from, but she knew that the gravity of King Kai is 10 times that of the Earth. In this way, with the bracelet and the gravity of King Kai itself, you can try to get used to 100 times the gravity. 100 times gravity. Krillin took a breath of cold air. Oh my god, I weigh 100 kilograms, and 100 times gravity is 10,000 kilograms. Won't I turn into meat paste directly? Tian Xinyan's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Can the human body really adapt to 100 times gravity? I'm not very used to 10 times gravity now. Yamcha sighed. Of course, I've only adapted to 5 times gravity now. You're too hard on yourself. Krillin raised his nose high. I'm telling you, actually, I could adapt to 10 times gravity 3 years ago. Shishi saw that Krillin wanted to brag again, and immediately said, Krillin, your 10 times gravity is different from ours. King Qian is good. Krillin was stunned. What do you mean, Shishi? Shishi covered her mouth and laughed. You weigh only 60 kilograms, while they weigh 170 to 80 kilograms. Even I weigh more than 100 kilograms. So, your weight 10 times is of course different from our weight 10 times. Krillin heard it. That's the truth. However, the next second, he realized something was wrong. Damn, Shishi, you mocked me. Shishi smiled playfully and hid behind Goku. Krillin said, when I go down to see Bulma, I will definitely borrow a radar. I will make a wish to grow 5 centimeters taller after I collect all the Dragon Balls. Son Goku, why are you obsessed with 5 centimeters? Yamcha, maybe I grew too tall all of a sudden and it's easy for people to see it. Just as several people were discussing their height, the god coughed lightly. Everyone looked at the god. The god slowly said, going to King Kai's planet is not because of gravity. Lord Kai has 2 unique skills, one is Kaioken and the other is Spirit Bomb, both of which are powerful moves. I won't force Spirit Bomb, but I hope every one of you will study Kaioken well. If you can master Kaioken, which is said to be only available to King Kai, your strength can be improved several times or even dozens of times on the original basis. Really? Chapter 89 The Blockhead Blossoms. The world's #1 martial arts competition. Although it was drizzling, there were still a lot of people here on this special day, because today is the day of the 23rd world's #1 martial arts competition. Martial arts masters from all over the world came here at the same time. Not far away, a super invincible luxury helicopter landed nearby in a high-profile manner. This kind of aircraft can be regarded as a luxury among aircrafts, and there are only 66 limited in the world. Ordinary local tyrants can't afford to drive such an aircraft. Only the top tyrants and those few people who stand at the pinnacle of power can own it. Many people couldn't help looking over and carefully examining such a magnificent and luxurious aircraft. Some even took out their cameras to take pictures. Some people began to whisper, is there any big shot coming to watch the martial arts competition? Maybe a rich man. What a magnificent plane. People who can ride on this kind of plane must be very famous, right? SHH, keep your voice down, the door is about to open. The cabin door clicked and slowly opened. A staircase automatically extended from the cabin door to the ground. At this moment, a tall blue-haired woman appeared. She walked down the plane slowly with an elegant step. This person was none other than Bulma. The onlookers were amazed when they saw this scene. Several young men couldn't help but discuss it, and even criticized Bulma. Wow, what a beautiful girl. Not only is she beautiful, but she also has a great figure. She must be the mistress of a rich man if she gets off this kind of plane. That makes sense. Maybe she's a rich girl. It's better if she's a rich woman, then I still have a chance. Hehe, do you think the rich woman likes you? Just then, a voice came from a distance. Bulma. Bulma, we're getting off. Bulma immediately looked from a distance in the direction of the voice, and a smile immediately bloomed on her originally calm face. Goku, Miss. Son Goku and Shishi held hands and walked to Bulma's side. Bulma, you look so beautiful today. Shishi couldn't help but praise. She got close to Bulma's face and looked at her carefully. Bulma, your mouth is so beautiful. Bulma smiled slightly, do you like it? Shishi nodded, I like it. Bulma said, if you like it, I'll give it to you. Shishi smiled sweetly, thank you Bulma. He touched Shishi's face, pinched it gently, and praised, what tender skin. You are so beautiful when you are young, you look so beautiful without makeup. Really? I am embarrassed by your praise. Shishi said embarrassedly, covering her cheek. Bulma changed the subject and said, now young people look good, but they won't be good in the future. Shishi, I will teach you how to put on makeup when I get home. After learning how to put on makeup, you can become more beautiful. Son Goku said, Bulma, you don't practice anyway, you have nothing to do at home. Why don't you collect Dragon Balls when you have nothing to do, and stay young? Bulma's face sank, and he gently hit Goku's chest, and said, how can you talk like that? Who said I have nothing to do? Don't I have to make money? Also, you are not a child anymore. Use your brain when you speak in the future, and don't say things that others don't like to hear. Son Goku scratched his head. Don't say what you don't like. What do you don't like to hear? Bulma sighed and said, forget it, you two go and sign up. I've prepared martial arts uniforms for you. Come back and change into them later. Goku and Shishi nodded together, and then went to sign up directly. The crowd watching the excitement was stunned. They all saw the intimacy between Bulma, Shishi, and Goku. At this moment, it was even more difficult to tell what was going on. If Goku was alone, it could be determined that she was a rich woman who kept a young man. But there were two people opposite, a man and a woman, and they were holding hands. Goku and Shishi's temperament, others could tell at a glance that they were a couple. She was actually very close to both of these couples. This relationship is complicated and unimaginable. Strange, I couldn't tell for a while. Me too. I thought she was a rich woman, now it remains to be verified. Maybe she is bisexual. It makes sense. Could those two be siblings, and this one is their sister? Ta. However, Bulma didn't look at them at all, but just looked in the direction where Goku and Shishi left. She said with a complicated expression, after waiting for so long, Goku has finally grown up. However, seeing that they were a perfect match, Bulma was a little embarrassed to make a move. Just now when she saw Son Goku, it was as if he was glowing, and she was in a trance for a moment. After not seeing each other for a few months, it was finally reunited. She wanted to learn from other couples to kiss, hug and lift up Goku, but she did nothing. I don't know if it was because there were too many people around and she was shy, or because Goku went to the temple and they didn't meet often, which led to them not being so familiar with each other. Bulma walked onto the plane and took out the martial arts uniforms prepared for them. A moment later, Goku and Shishi boarded the plane directly. Bulma handed the clothes to the two of them and smiled, the martial arts uniforms for you. Try it first. I'm worried that the size won't fit and it won't be comfortable. I've made 3 sets for each of you, 1 size difference. As she said that, Bulma pressed the remote control, and the glass of the plane suddenly changed color. The doors of the plane were also closed. In this way, the outside world couldn't see inside. Goku took the martial arts uniform and said, Bulma, you're so nice. Shishi also took the martial arts uniform. She gestured seriously before starting to change. Bulma looked at Goku, only to find that he was basically naked. Well, but he had a pair of bare underwear on him. Bulma was stunned. Bare underwear? Why are you wearing this kind of underwear, Goku? Bulma couldn't help complaining. Shishi immediately looked at Bulma and said a little embarrassedly, Bulma, I bought that underwear. You forgot that he didn't wear underwear when he had a tail before. Bulma was stunned for a moment. Oh, yes, I forgot. No, where is Goku's tail? Shishi explained, the gods were worried that Goku would take his tail to King Kai's planet. BDBB, he would become a gorilla when he saw other planets, and would be rude to King Kai, or even hurt him. So they helped him remove his tail. Goku said he was not used to it, so I bought him a few pairs of underwear. Anyway, he would wear the same underwear, and the bare underwear was cheaper, so I bought that kind. Bulma shrugged, okay, you really ride a bicycle to the bar, save money when you should, spend money when you should. At this time, Shishi was only wearing underwear. Bulma was surprised. Shishi's underwear was also a bare pattern. No, you are wearing couple underwear. Shishi blushed. Well, you saw it, he. As she said that, Xian quickly started to change clothes. Bulma swallowed hard. You two, didn't you do anything in the temple? The two turned their heads and looked at Bulma again, saying in unison, what did you do? Bulma looked at the two's clear and stupid eyes and immediately responded, it's okay. After that, Bulma's face was covered with a blush. She muttered in her heart, so many years have passed in the blink of an eye. Why do I feel like I'm back to the age of a crazy girl? She touched her face and felt a little hot. Really, what's wrong with me recently? Why is there so much garbage in my brain? Soon, they both changed their clothes. Bulma also pressed the remote control, the glass became transparent again, and the plane door opened again. Let's go, the others should be here too, let's go to the meeting first. Shishi glanced out the window and immediately said, hey, I saw Krillin coming. He brought snow here again, I'll go say hello. Bulma nodded, well, go. As she said that, Shishi hurriedly ran out of the cabin door. Seeing Krillin and Snow holding hands outside the window, Bulma smiled. She looked at Krillin in the distance and asked, Goku, did Krillin say when he and Snow will have their wedding? He said he's not in a hurry and will get married after returning from King Kai. Bulma was stunned for a moment. She asked, they got engaged 3 years ago. They were too young to get married at that time. Now that all the conditions are met, why wait until they return? Just as Bulma was curious, she suddenly felt Gaku's warm arms. Gaku actually hugged her from behind. The familiar smell of Gaku and the slight body temperature on her back seemed to ignite Bulma's youth. Her face suddenly turned red and she was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She subconsciously wanted to break free, but the thought was fleeting. Because deep in her heart, she wanted Gaku to do something more excessive to her. She was just too embarrassed to say it out loud. At this moment, Gaku's voice came out. Bulma, I miss you. Bulma's body trembled, and she turned half a circle in Gaku's arms and looked at Gaku. Now Gaku is not shorter than him, but a head taller than her, so that Bulma needs to look up at him at this moment. Seeing Gaku's sunny face, Bulma's face is also full of joy. After taking care of Gaku for so many years, this wooden brain seems to have finally sprouted new buds. Bulma gently pressed Gaku's chest with her fingers, and said coquettishly, "You little stinky boy, you have no conscience. After so many years, you finally know to miss me once." Gaku looked down at Bulma and said, "In fact, I thought about it many times, but I just didn't say it." Bulma smiled, and on the surface she didn't care much, but in her heart, she didn't know why, she was almost in the sky. "By the way, Bulma, have I grown a lot taller?" Bulma was still immersed in the joy that he also understood a little bit, not understanding what he meant by this, and nodded. "Yeah, you were just a brat, but now you're a head taller than me." Gaku continued the previous topic and said, "My height makes Krillin jealous. Krillin asked me to help him borrow a Dragon Ball from you. He wants to grow 5 centimeters taller." 5 centimeters. Bulma was curious about this number. Gaku nodded. "Well, I said it's not easy to collect a Dragon Ball, so I persuaded him to grow a few centimeters. And then he said it's unnatural to grow too tall all of a sudden, so he wanted 5 centimeters. Hearing this, Bulma laughed. She laughed so hard that her branches shook. Seeing Bulma's exquisite makeup, long eyelashes, and bright red lips, Gaku was a little dazed for a while. Bulma tiptoed, closed her eyes, and gently pressed against Gaku. "I deleted 10,000 words. 90 brave Shishi. Attention, contestants participating in the world's first martial arts tournament, the preliminaries are about to begin. Please gather at the martial arts hall." As the host announced the entrance, many martial artists entered the martial arts hall one after another. Tian Xinyan walked towards the martial arts hall and suddenly found that Master Roshi was wearing a suit and had no intention of going. He immediately asked, "Master Mutant, are you not going to play this time?" Master Roshi immediately shook his head. "Don't joke, you are all practicing with the gods. I can't beat any of you now, there is no point in going." "Then I'll go in, Master Mutant." "Go, do well." With that, Tian Xinyan and Jiaoze walked into the martial arts hall, and Yamcha followed closely. Tian Xinyan was still very calm, but Yamcha had a bitter face. "Tian Xinyan, we have been practicing in the heavens for so long, although we have made great progress. But do you feel that the gap between our strength and Gaku's 3 people is getting bigger and bigger?" Tian Xinyan nodded. "Yeah, Gaku and his team were very fierce. We are making progress, and they have never slacked off. But, keep up the good work. The true meaning of martial arts is to never stop." "That's true." Just as the two were chatting, a man wearing a cloak and buying pass coins passed by, and when he turned the corner, he glanced at them. The two of them froze. "What's wrong with this guy? The cold look in his eyes seems to have a grudge against us." "Do you know him?" Yamcha asked. Tian Xinyan shook his head. "Strange man, I don't know him." With that, the two of them ignored him and walked into the martial arts hall. That man was none other than Piccolo Daimao. Just now, when Tian Xinyan mentioned Son Goku, he paid attention to him. Finding that he was not Son Goku and was not among them, Piccolo no longer paid attention to them. But he walked into the martial arts hall. As soon as he entered the room, he saw Son Goku. Because he, Shishi and Krillin formed a small group, all wearing orange martial arts uniforms, which were particularly bright. Piccolo felt the unusual aura on Son Goku, and his eyes gradually became colder. He used the mind dialogue to actively communicate with Son Goku. "So you are Son Goku, and your reputation is well deserved? For 3 years, I have been waiting for this day, and finally it has come." Hearing the voice in his mind, Son Goku looked over. Piccolo too was wearing a headscarf and was looking at him not far away, with hatred flashing in his eyes. Goku also turned around and looked at Chen. After staring at each other for a while, Piccolo went to other areas. Shishi asked curiously, "Goku, do you know that man? He looks so fierce." Son Goku nodded. "He should be the son of Piccolo Daimao." "Piccolo too." Shishi nodded with sudden realization. "Oh, so, his face is green, and he looks really weird." Krillin looked at Piccolo's back as he left, and he connected directly. "Goku, Shishi, I feel like I've been a little too proud these past 2 years. The rumored Piccolo Daimao is nothing to me, his aura is so weak." Shishi smiled and said, "Krillin, do you want me to praise you?" "Krillin, you've become too strong." Krillin said, "We have been training with famous teachers, and we are indeed very strong." Krillin looked at Goku again and asked, "Goku, do you think we are about to become invincible?" "Invincible, Del." Krillin affirmed. Son Goku thought about it, and after Sin came the growing combat power, he shook his head decisively. "Let's not talk about it first. Universe Emperor Frieza. Even Frieza's few inconspicuous subordinates have tens of thousands of combat power. The Jinyu force is even more powerful. Now the 3 of them seem very powerful. But if they go to Frisia's army, they can only be a small soldier. Not even close. There are always people better than you in this world. Don't be complacent, don't slack off, practice hard. Krillin was a little dazed and asked, are there such powerful people? Son Goku thought about the masters behind him. Frisia, the androids, Majin Buu, Hit, Jiren. Above them should be gods of destruction or something. Thinking too much. The current level is too low and can't be touched at all. Goku thought about it and told him that Frisia crushed him, but he didn't believe it and even had a psychological shadow. So he brought out all the knowledge that Bulma taught him. Goku said, Sister Bulma has a lot of contact with the Galactic Patrol. Various star fields, very wide. One day, Bulma popularized a lot of science to me and Shishi universe knowledge. In fact, this world is very big. In addition to the Earth, there is also the vast universe, where various human beings live on their own planets. Even in the universe, wars will break out between planets. Just like the wars between humans on our Earth hundreds of years ago. The main force of those interstellar battles is not technology, but powerful combat power. In short, there are too many powerful people in the world. And we are not even a fraction of those masters? If we want to see those powerful guys, and if we want to be able to fight back strongly when our Earth is invaded one day, we must be very good. Only by constantly working hard to practice, improve our horizons, and then become stronger again. Krillin looked at Goku blankly, with confusion in his eyes. In the universe, will there be fights between planets? Shouldn't be. Krillin scratched his head. What you said is too weird, it doesn't sound real to me. Shishi said, Krillin, this is why you are so ignorant. When you and Shinyo went on vacation, Bulma taught us a lot about the universe. It's not hard to understand. The battles between the planets in the universe are just like the primitive tribes of our human race robbing each other for resources. There are even characters like ancient emperors, the kings of the universe who are constantly expanding their territory, rule hundreds of planets, and have countless elite soldiers and generals under their command. Bulma's sister Tais has been adventuring with the Galactic Patrol. The Galactic Patrol is responsible for maintaining the law and order of the universe, and has seen many scenes of interstellar battles. Krillin took a breath. Is it true? Of course it's true. Krillin didn't believe it, and asked, why haven't aliens come to attack our Earth for so many years? Shishi touched his chin and turned to look at Goku. Hey, Goku, what did Bulma say at that time? Son Goku thought for a while and said, maybe the Earth is too remote. There is only one planet with humans in the radius of a very far radius. It seems not worthwhile to invade and rob a small Earth, so no one is willing to come here. Krillin was stunned. I understand, that is to say, our Earth is just a small chassis, and the big guys don't look down on it. Son Goku nodded, it should be considered very looked down upon. In the eyes of the big guys, the Earth is like a single grape. And other planets are generally intertwined with other planets, and several adjacent planets are not too far away. It's like a bunch of grapes, and the invasion value is much higher than that of the Earth. So there are no invaders on the Earth. Krillin seemed to understand. Said, I understand, that is to say, in fact, we are very poor. But because of this, we are very safe. Shishi nodded, that's about the meaning. But the technology on Earth is too backward. In the future, interstellar spacecraft will be faster, and our Earth will be invaded sooner or later. Therefore, the Earth must have a strong force to protect it. And we work hard to become stronger in order to protect the Earth in the future. Krillin nodded, I understand. If aliens invade the Earth one day, I hope we can all become heroes who protect the Earth. Son Goku nodded, Krillin, let's all work hard, we will all become the guardians of the Earth. If you want to know more, I will find you a space novel written by Tais, all of which are adapted from real stories. Krillin was surprised for a moment, then nodded. Okay. At this moment, the referee began to call people to draw lots. Tien Xinyan immediately asked Jiaozi to use his superpowers to operate in secret. Separate their own people into different rounds. Strive not to meet before the quarterfinals. After layers of selection, the final 8 was finally selected. Piccolo undoubtedly got into the role. They were even more stress-free. Son Goku, Shishi, Krillin, Tien Xinyan, Jiaozi, and Yamcha. They are all their own people, and there is only one outsider, Piccolo, and a black-clothed masked man. The quarterfinals are gathered. Son Goku looked at the black-clothed masked man. Come on, this guy is probably Yajirobe. After another round of drawing lots, the quarterfinals are also out. Tien Xinyan vs Shishi. Son Goku vs black-clothed masked man. Krillin vs Demon 2, Piccolo. Yamcha vs Jiaozi. Son Goku looked at Krillin vs Piccolo and asked curiously, Jiaozi, did you arrange this? Jiaozi shook his head. I interfered in the first round of the preliminaries, but I didn't interfere in the second round. It was basically our own people. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Jiaozi asked. It's okay. Son Goku shook his head and worried about Piccolo secretly. In the previous life, it shouldn't be a problem to let Piccolo's son fight Krillin. But Krillin has been training with him all the way, just like Shishi and himself. The three of them have accepted Bulma's professional training package, and have not taken any detours. Krillin is too strong at this moment, second only to himself. If Piccolo fights him, he can't win even if he tries his best. He can't even make it to the semi-finals, and Son Goku is really worried that his mentality will collapse and he can't think straight. At this moment, the referee walked to the fighting arena. Dear audience, I've kept you waiting for a long time. I declare that the 23rd Tianxin No. 1 Martial Arts Tournament will start now. The first game, Tian Xinyan vs Shishi. Please invite the two players to the stage. Soon, Tian Xinyan and Shishi both walked onto the stage. After the two of them had set their starting positions, the referee decisively shouted, "Start." Tian Xinyan said seriously, "Shishi, I know you are very strong now, so, even if you are a girl, I will not let you go. If you don't use your full strength, it means you look down on me." Shishi was stunned for a moment. "Let me use my full strength." Tian Xinyan nodded. "Yes, I want to see how big the gap is between me and Gaku. I am not in the same group with him, but I can try to compare the gap with you." Shishi nodded. "I understand, be careful." Tian Xinyan shouted, and his aura suddenly rose to the highest level. In an instant, a circle of strong wind blew from his body, and the dust on the ring was dispersed a lot by his aura. With him as the center, a very clean stone floor appeared. The audience was surprised to see this scene. Wow, isn't that Tian Xinyan? The runner-up of the last session, it seems that he has practiced hard for 3 years. Yes, his Qigong is so strong that it can affect the environment and shake off the dust. It's not easy. After raising his chi, Tian Xinyan stepped on the ground and punched Shishi. However, just when his fist was about to hit Shishi, Shishi suddenly disappeared. The audience was also surprised. Where is he? Gone. Tian Xinyan's punch missed and he almost fell forward. He had a gap. At this moment, Shishi's figure suddenly appeared behind him and chopped down with a backhand knife. In an instant, Tian Xinyan screamed and hit the floor tiles heavily. The floor tiles broke into many pieces, and Tian Xinyan lay there with his eyes rolled back. The whole audience was silent, and even the referee was stunned. Seeing Tian Xinyan motionless, a gap appeared. "Oh no, you told me to use all my strength, don't die." Bulma was in the stands watching Shishi knock down Tian Xinyan with one move, and she couldn't help but be surprised. After a moment, a smile appeared on her face. "I didn't expect it. Even Shishi is so powerful." Tian Xinyan spent 3 years in the heavens and still couldn't catch up with their progress. It seems that the training plan I customized for them over the years has achieved remarkable results. At this moment, warm applause and cheers broke out from the audience. Too powerful. A girl knocked out a big man with one move. The girl next door has grown up. She is so powerful and powerful. The key is that she is so beautiful. Do you have to save the world to be qualified to marry such a girl? Bulma also gave Shishi a thumbs up. Brave Shishi warrior. Chapter 91 Piccolo doubts about life. After the referee checked, Tian Xinyan was just knocked unconscious, not dead. Shishi was relieved. So, Shishi successfully entered the semifinals. Tian Xinyan woke up and left the ring with a bitter face, sitting in the audience. Master Rashi patted Tian Xinyan and said, "You are 3 years behind her in practice. It's normal to be defeated by her. Don't be depressed. As long as you practice well, you will catch up with them sooner or later." Tian Xinyan nodded. "I know, I will work hard, thank you Master Wu Tian." Behind the arena, Piccolo looked at Shishi in surprise, with a hint of understanding in his eyes. "Damn, the victory was too quick, I didn't see her strength at all. Let's observe the next match." Soon, Son Goku and Yajirobe, the masked man in black, came on stage. Bulma saw the masked man in black, and through his clothes, she could see the figure of the fat man, and she felt very familiar with him. Suddenly, through the holes in the masked man's eyes, Bulma saw the man's eyes. Bulma couldn't help shrinking her pupils. That guy is Yajirobe. She remembered her previous life. In the survivor concentration camp, there was a lazy uncle who was also mixed with his ministers. That man was Yajirobe. He obviously had martial arts skills, but he was so lazy. Instead of working hard to fight Black Goku, he became a middle-aged uncle who wasted food, useless, and always hid food. Bulma exhaled a foul breath. It's him. Damn, a guy who wastes beans and food. At this moment, the referee announced 600 and the game started. Bulma suddenly stood up and shouted to Son Goku, "Goku, perform well and beat that guy hard." Originally, he wanted to knock out Yajirobe with one move like Shishi. However, after hearing Bulma's words, Son Goku seemed to realize something. "Are you dissatisfied with Shishi's fight ending too quickly and not being entertaining?" At this moment, Yajirobe rushed towards Son Goku. The chubby fists were like machine guns, constantly attacking Son Goku. Son Goku's figure kept shaking, and he dodged Yajirobe's fist without falling. As he attacked, Son Goku's footsteps kept retreating. The referee was also surprised to see this scene. He immediately began to explain. "Wow, the black-clad masked player is so powerful. I saw that his fists were strong and powerful, and he kept attacking Mr. Son Goku, leaving no chance to fight back. Mr. Son Goku faced such a violent attack, and for a while he had no choice but to keep retreating. It was so exciting. The people in the audience held their breath when they saw this scene. My goodness, that man is Son Goku, who is as strong as Krillin. He was beaten. That black-clad masked man is not simple. Too brave. Who is that man?" Although Son Goku was dodging, he was always testing Yajirobe's strength. He had to control the strength, not to kill him, not to knock him out, and it would be best not to hurt him, just make him feel pain. So, under Yajirobe's attack, Son Goku immediately counterattacked, and threw a set of random punches at Yajirobe. In an instant, the punch-to-flesh attack poured onto Yajirobe. The black mask was full of grinning expressions. A few seconds later, Son Goku beat Yajirobe violently. However, in the eyes of the audience, it was Son Goku who withstood the attacks of the black-clothed masked man and held back a counterattack. That set of attacks was very strong at first glance. Every move hit the target, and every punch hit the flesh. Indistinctly, Yajirobe's miserable groan could be heard. The audience thought it was very exciting and applauded him. Well done. Son Goku finally fought back. What a beautiful combination of punches. As expected of a disciple of Master Wu Tian, this martial arts is so exquisite. The two fought for a round and pulled away. The black-clothed masked man began to breathe heavily. During this gap, the referee began to explain, the attack of the black-clad masked player is indeed very strong. However, Son Goku has participated in the martial arts tournament for the third time. He is strong and experienced. Son lived up to expectations and withstood the powerful attack of the black-clad masked player. Son Goku immediately launched an effective counterattack and immediately regained the momentum. Now, let's see how our black-clad masked player will fight back. Let's wait and see. Yajirobe is much stronger than ordinary people, but he is very weak in character. He runs away when he sees a master. He belongs to the kind of hide-and-seek style. After fighting with Son Goku for a round, Yajirobe found that he was not his opponent. He immediately had the idea of retreating. However, after the referee said this, plus he felt that he could still resist, and found that although the opponent's fist was powerful, he was not injured after hitting him for so long. Yajirobe felt that he could give it a try. He would win if he knocked him off the ring in one go. If he can't beat him, he won't die. After all, this is a martial arts tournament. So, Yajirobe suddenly attacked Son Goku. After a set of attack and defense cycles, Yajirobe rushed forward again unconvinced. Soon, the audience cheered continuously. Goku and Yajirobe fought against each other, constantly controlling their own strength. Gradually, he became more and more familiar with the feeling of pinching strength. In general, in a fight, a stronger force is used to attack the opponent. If the force invested is too strong, it is difficult to attack. If the force is too small, the attack is fast, but it can't hurt the opponent. If all the strength is used, it needs to be charged, or transformed into a muscle form. And the speed is slow, and it is useless if it can't hit. Being able to use your maximum strength to attack at a speed that the enemy cannot dodge, is a higher level of strength training. Only when the strength of the power control is accurate enough can it be considered a real master. Son Goku is constantly practicing and confirming his thoughts. He suddenly remembered what Vegeta said in the later period. Jiren's power is actually similar to theirs, but his expression is completely different. It is because of his strong control of power that the group will shine at the Lijing conference. Just a few minutes later, Son Goku had fought with Yajirobe for several rounds. At this moment, Yajirobe was still unwilling to accept and wanted to continue fighting. Unfortunately, he had exhausted his strength and admitted defeat before the next round began. After seeing Goku's battle, Piccolo's eyes flashed with strange emotions. Is this Son Goku? It took so long to defeat a guy like that, isn't it a bit of acting? Damn, he didn't show any strength at all, and didn't find out his specific strength. Soon the second round of the battle ended, and Son Goku won. The third battle began. Please invite Krillin and the second generation of demons to the stage. Piccolo flew to the ring, and Krillin also flew to the ring. The people in the audience saw that both of them could fly, and they all looked forward to it. The opponent must be very powerful. Martial artists who can fly are all masters. However, no matter how powerful he is, he will definitely lose if he meets Mr. Klin, the champion of the last martial arts competition. Mr. Klin is the apprentice of Master Wu Tian. He must have been practicing hard in the past 3 years and his strength must be stronger. Piccolo listened to the ignorant discussions of the crowd, and a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes. Are you the last martial arts champion? Krillin responded, yes. Piccolo's mouth was crooked, and he said disdainfully, "Humph, you can attack at any time, little punk." Krillin frowned, you said I was a little punk? Humph, if you lose to me, you are not even as good as a little punk. Piccolo smiled coldly, what a joke, how could I lose to a guy like you? Krillin hooked his finger and said, stop talking nonsense, attack. If I attack, I'm afraid you can't withstand a single move. Piccolo snorted coldly, arrogant. Said, it was too late, and it was too fast. Piccolo suddenly turned into a residual image and chopped directly at Krillin with a knife. However, after the knife was chopped out, Krillin's figure disappeared. Piccolo was shocked. Disappeared. Suddenly, a voice came from behind him. Here. Piccolo turned his head, startled. He didn't see how Krillin moved. At this moment, Piccolo's face was terribly green, and beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. How is it possible? This thought flashed through his mind, and he didn't see Krillin's moves clearly, and flew backwards. Fortunately, Piccolo was proficient in flying technique, and stopped his retreating figure halfway and floated in the sky. The audience immediately broke out into warm applause. So cool. Mr. Krillin is so fast that ordinary people like us can't see it. That's right, can Mr. Krillin teleport? It's amazing. This guy is no match for Mr. Krillin at all. That's right. The only two disciples who can fight against Mr. Krillin are Mr. Son Goku and Ms. Shishi, Mr. Wu Tian's other two disciples. Master Roshi was very pleased to hear the people around him praising Krillin. At this moment, he felt that his status was deified in people's hearts. Piccolo had just stabilized himself in the air when Krillin chased him. It was just a sweeping kick, and Piccolo screamed and shot backwards. The next moment, Krillin flashed behind Piccolo's flying path, and kicked him back with a backhand kick. After 2 consecutive interceptions, Piccolo was kicked 3 times by Krillin like a football. Damn it, you actually despise me like this, Piccolo Daimao. Piccolo was angry. He tore off his headscarf and cloak, revealing his head with antennas. Everyone looked at him in surprise. This person looks a little familiar. It feels a bit like that Piccolo Daimao. Piccolo Daimao. I seem to have read in the newspaper that he is younger than that Piccolo Daimao. Seeing such a strange shape, which looks very much like the former Piccolo Daimao, everyone became suspicious. After hearing the voices of the crowd, Krillin also became serious. It would be bad if he hurt ordinary people. Let's defeat him quickly. At this moment, Piccolo rushed towards Krillin. Without the weight, Piccolo's speed was ridiculously fast. However, Krillin's strength was dozens of times higher than his at this moment. Even if Piccolo improved a little, it was only from one person dealing with 1 ant to one person dealing with 2 ants. Piccolo punched Krillin, and Krillin sneered and grabbed Piccolo's fist. He wanted to break free, but he couldn't. Piccolo was shocked, and his eyes suddenly shot out laser-like rays. However, Krillin just tilted his head lightly and avoided the ray attack. The ray hit the ring behind Krillin, instantly shattering several tiles. 4.3 The audience gasped. It turns out that this guy is so powerful. The next moment, Krillin punched Piccolo in the abdomen. He groaned miserably, his veins popped out. His eyeballs bulged, and his saliva flowed all over the floor. Krillin took another step forward and swept up with a whip kick. Piccolo's body flew backwards, hit the wall, and then fell to the ground. The referee immediately ran over to count down. 10,9,8. The second generation of the devil didn't stand up, Krillin won. In an instant, warm applause broke out outside. Great. Mr. Krillin is so powerful. Huh, you still say he looks like Piccolo Daimao, it's totally a joke. This guy is vulnerable in front of Mr. Krillin, he is just a small shrimp. Humph, didn't you see that he is very powerful? A laser broke a lot of floor tiles. I think even if Piccolo Daimao is resurrected, he will not be Mr. Krillin's opponent. Yes, Mr. Krillin is too powerful. Do you think there is a possibility that it was Mr. Krillin who killed Piccolo Daimao 3 years ago? Hiss. A group of surprised voices suddenly appeared in the audience. Bulma was listening to gossip and eating melons in the audience, and a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. It's strange, how come Krillin is about to become a god? Goku was also surprised to see the performance of the audience. He made a head, and muttered with some doubt, why do I feel that I can see the shadow of Satan from Krillin? 92 Shooting oneself in the foot. For the 4th match, please invite Yamcha and Jiaoze to the stage. Jiaoze and Yamcha stepped onto the stage, and after the referee's introduction, they started the duel. The difference in strength between the two was not big, and the fight was very intense. Dong Dong Wave, Solar Flare, and Yamcha's Air Bomb, etc. All kinds of moves were full of special effects. It also attracted the audience's cheers. On the other side, Piccolo, who woke up, sat there for a long time. As a descendant of Piccolo Daimao, he inherited his power, and worked hard for 3 years to improve his strength, much stronger than his father at the beginning. He knelt down as soon as he stepped onto the stage, and couldn't even beat a passerby, let alone revenge. He didn't even make it to the finals. He was already deeply doubting his life. At this moment, a blue-haired woman came over and stood in front of him. This person was Bulma. Piccolo was stunned for a moment, and then showed anger. You blocked me, do you want to die? Piccolo spoke bluntly. Bulma didn't take Piccolo's threat seriously, but smiled. She asked, Piccolo, you can't even make it to the finals, do you still want to rule the world? Piccolo was shocked, and a drop of cold sweat broke out on his forehead unconsciously. He knew his true identity and dared to stand here. In an instant, 10,000 grass horses galloped through his heart. The person in front of him was just an ordinary person, but he was not afraid of him. Piccolo Daimao, who used to be afraid to go out at night when children heard his name. Now even an ordinary person dares to stand in front of him, and he is not afraid. What a mockery! He felt very bitter. Has Piccolo Daimao's reputation long since disappeared? Bulma interrupted his thinking time. She pointed to the battle sign behind the ring and said, have you seen the list of the top 8 in the martial arts competition? Piccolo followed Bulma's gaze. Then he looked at Bulma. What do you mean? Bulma said, except for you and the black-clothed masked man. I know the other top 8 this year, and I know their training. In other words, I have witnessed their growth. And I clearly know how they became stronger. As he said that, Bulma took out a universal capsule. He continued, if you want to conquer the world, you must first surpass Krillin, Shishi, Son Goku, and all the martial artists on the planet. You are a smart person and you should know that without strength, nothing can be discussed. You cannot rule the world with just conspiracy and trickery. Speaking of strength, in this capsule, I recorded some clips of the 3 of them practicing at different stages over the years. With these materials as a reference, you will definitely become stronger than them. After saying that, Bulma did not put forward any conditions and directly handed the Universal Glue Garden to Piccolo. Piccolo showed a look of astonishment on his face. He could not understand why the person in front of him helped him. After a moment, Piccolo showed a smile on his astonished face. He seemed to understand what Bulma meant. He held the universal capsule between two fingers and asked, "You gave me this thing. Do you want me to do it after I rule the world?" Bulma was stunned for a moment, then said, "Hey, don't tell me. Your proposal is a good investment for me. At least for me, it is profitable. However, it seems difficult to realize this idea. If you want to surpass them, it is not enough to just do the level in the video film I gave you, because they will go to a place to practice in 2 days, practice more diligently, and have guidance from big people. On this basis, they will continue to become stronger. Your foundation is more than 10 years worse than theirs. You can only surpass them if you become stronger faster than them. Otherwise, ruling the world is just your fantasy." Piccolo narrowed his eyes and said, "It won't be long before I will defeat them and rule the world again." After that, Piccolo flew away. Bulma looked at Piccolo's receding back and thought to herself, although it is somewhat different from Goku's behavior in the previous life, he shouldn't mess around again, right? At this moment, a thin middle-aged man with glasses walked up to Bulma. He was the god, who was now possessed by a mortal. "If you are not on Earth, are you sure he won't harm the world?" Bulma looked at the god and said, "What are you afraid of? They are going to practice, not to die. If Piccolo wants to rule the world again, calling one of them back will be enough to beat him." "That's what I said, but I think it's better to seal him up. I know a good sealing technique, which was invented by humans, called demon sealing." Bulma shook her head and said, "Piccolo too is no longer the original Great Demon King." "What do you mean?" "The original Piccolo Daimao is a collection of evil thoughts. And this Piccolo, although he is the descendant of Piccolo, is no longer the original Piccolo. He is a new individual. He can think of defeating Goku by participating in the world #1 martial arts tournament, so he is not bad at heart. What's more, he has never killed anyone since he was born, right?" The god was stunned for a moment. Indeed, since Piccolo Daimao laid an egg, the god has been paying attention to the growth of little Piccolo. Although the little Piccolo's survival experience is somewhat evil, it also inherits the obsession of the old Piccolo, to avenge him and rule the world. However, the thoughts of the newborn Piccolo are different from those of the old Piccolo. Obviously, he is a new individual. Just like human children, they are related to their parents, but their thoughts are completely different. When the god was stunned, Bulma interrupted his thoughts and said, "Maybe one day, you will live in harmony." The god looked at Bulma and was stunned for a long time. After a while, he asked a question. "Bulma, you are very wise, would you like to be a god?" Bulma was shocked. "Let me be a god? Don't be kidding, how can I be a god? I will never go." Just at this moment, warm applause broke out on the stage. Jiaozi defeated Yamcha with a slight advantage and successfully advanced. Next, please prepare the players who have advanced. Next fight, Shishi vs Son Goku. Just after the referee finished speaking, Goku and Shishi both went up. Bulma looked at the two people on the ring absent-mindedly, and they seemed to be flirting with each other. A trace of trance flashed in Bulma's eyes. Somehow, she remembered the intimate gestures Goku made to her on the plane. A trace of joy flashed in her eyes, and a trace of red appeared on her face. Has Shishi secretly kissed Goku many times? How can she hug me so skillfully and naturally? Bulma suddenly remembered something. In a few days, they will go to King Kai to practice. The temple is still on Earth, just a little higher, so she can still go and take a look. But the gravity of King Kai is 10 times that of Earth. And Bulma can't even bear twice as much, so naturally she can't go there. So, this separation may be for a long time. Bulma couldn't help pinching her thigh. "I'm so stupid, the distance is so long. It will take a long time for Saiyan to come to Earth. Why should I send him to King Kai so early? Wouldn't it be better to live on Earth for 2 years first?" Bulma felt that she had really shot herself in the foot. Living on Earth, you can also give birth to a Saiyan baby, whose growth limit is much higher than that of Earthlings? Bulma felt that she was too eager for success and narrowed her path. Forget it, I remember that. Goku actually took a year to learn Spirit Bomb and Kaioken. Now Goku's strength is higher than when he went to King Kai in his previous life. Maybe he can learn it in a few days and come back. Thinking of this, Shima breathed a sigh of relief. I have to build a large gravity training room as soon as possible. It would be best if the space is large enough for the 3 of them to train and practice in it. When Goku comes back from King Kai, he can practice at home with peace of mind. Suddenly, Bulma thought of something. The materials for the gravity bracelet are hard to find on Earth. So can I make a wish for a high multiplier bracelet through the Dragon Ball? If not, I can ask Shenron for the materials. I can make it myself without any trouble. Bulma's expression immediately brightened. Soon, the battle between Shishi and Goku ended. It seemed that Goku had lost his obsession with the championship of the martial arts tournament and deliberately lost to Saiyan, and Shishi had no interest in winning the championship and lost to Krillin in the finals. So, Krillin won the championship of the martial arts tournament again. However, in the next few days, Krillin was targeted by the media. I originally thought that I would go on vacation after finishing my wedding with Shino. As a result, all kinds of endorsements and fan meetings came to him. Krillin felt annoyed, but Hongruo seemed to like this kind of activity. So, Shino dressed up beautifully as Krillin's wife, and accompanied him in various business activities. After that, it was time to look for the Dragon Ball again. He must grow these 5 centimeters. Chapter 93, Training on King Kai's Planet. In a blink of an eye, a month passed. After the busyness and relaxation, several people set foot on the Snake Road. Originally, Gaku and the other three planned to reach King Kai in less than a day, so they came here without bringing anything. In the end, they miscalculated. Tian Xinyan, Jiaozi, and Yamsha were not that fast, so it would take at least a few days. After all, they were a team, and Gaku and the others were embarrassed to leave first. So they all opened the 10 times gravity and ran the snake road with them. This run was not a big deal, but an important issue was overlooked. The timeline was extended from 1 day to several days, and there was no food to eat. Fortunately, Krillin's wife prepared a lot of food for Krillin. Enough for a month. But these were only enough for Gaku's meal. Let's talk about it after we are full. Anyway, we will only be hungry for 2 or 3 days. If it doesn't work, we can eat senzu beans as food. Anyway, we won't starve to death. After everyone discussed it, they stopped halfway on the snake road and ate meat. Shishi, Krillin, give me more cumin, no spicy food, I'm afraid of acne, thank you. Son Gaku, I'm not picky, I just want to eat it, I'm starving. Krillin nodded, okay, don't worry, I'm working hard to roast it. Yamsha, Krillin, why are there so many roasted kidneys in the ingredients? Krillin nodded, yeah, this nourishes. Yamsha sighed, it's so sad to let a single dog nourish his kidneys. Yamsha looked up at the distance, the endless snake road made people tired. I don't know when we can run to the end, it's so far. Tian Xinyan nodded, yeah, at this speed, we have already run around the earth twice. I didn't expect that before we reached King Kai, this snake road is several times longer than the equator. Shishi, it would be great if we had a universe spacecraft, it's fast enough. We should be able to get there within a day. Krillin, it's ready, Shishi, your grilled corn and enoki mushrooms? Gaku, your grilled lamb legs and kidneys. Well, I'm starting, it smells so good. Shishi took a bite of the grilled corn and couldn't help but praise, yeah, Krillin's cooking is really delicious. Krillin scratched his head and smiled, it's good as long as it tastes good, it's all taught to me by Sinyo. Let's eat all the food I brought today. If you can't run anymore, just eat senzu beans. Everyone nodded. Jiaozi, Krillin, I want to eat skewers, not kidneys. Krillin, Jiaozi, you don't understand, eating kidneys is good, very nutritious, and can also promote development. Tian Xinyan asked curiously, promote what development? Krillin, it's easy to grow taller. Yamsha blinked. I said I felt that you have grown a little taller recently, it turns out that eating kidneys is to supplement it. I thought eating kidneys can only supplement kidneys. Krillin, hey, hee. An hour later, everyone was full. So full. Let's take a nap before we go. It would be nice if we could turn off the lights, it's too bright, I feel tired when I sleep. Tian Xinyan, I don't know whether it's day or night, just make do with it, if it's too bright, just cover your eyes with clothes. Krillin, Jiaozi, and others took out their blankets or sleeping bags and slept on the floor. Shishi looked at Gaku and asked, Gaku, why are you blushing? Are you sick? Son Gaku shook his head. It's okay, I'm not sick, I just feel a little hot. Shishi thought for a moment and immediately asked, did you eat too much kidney? I heard that eating too much of that kind of thing will make you feel this way. Son Gaku. Shishi blushed and asked tentatively, Gaku, let's go 1 more hour forward. I have a small portable house that should be able to hold. This is not good. Shishi pulled the corner of Son Gaku's clothes. What are you afraid of? We are not 3-year-old children. Maybe when we return to Earth, Shinyo will give birth to a baby for Krillin. 3 days later. Click. Click. Dia. The 6 people arrived at the intersection of the Snake Road together. However, before they could prepare, they were all pulled over by the powerful gravity of King Kai. Krillin, Shishi, and Gaku were still wearing bracelets with 10 times the gravity. The gravity suddenly went from 10 times to 100 times. They were all pinned down on King Kai and couldn't move. Tian Xinyan, Yamsha, and Jiaozi didn't use 10 times gravity, so they weren't that miserable. But they were all basically out of strength by this point. The sudden 10 times gravity caused several people to fall. For a moment, the wailing of several people resounded throughout King Kai. Shishi, Gaku, I can't move, help me close the bracelet. Son Gaku, me too, I can't lift it, let me rest for a while to get used to it. Krillin was lying on the ground with his arms and legs spread out, his eyes were lifeless and he said, so this is what 100 times gravity feels like being nailed to the wall. Tian Xinyan stood up first and saw Gaku and Krillin lying on the ground. The posture was a bit too ecstatic. Are you okay? Shishi, Tian Xinyan, are you okay? Tian Xinyan, I didn't turn on 10 times gravity, so I'm fine. Shishi was shocked, help me turn off the gravity bracelet, my bones are about to break. Just as several people were struggling, the king walked out of the room. Seeing several people trying to stand up, with strange shapes, King Kai showed a strange look on his face. Hee, are you here to perform for me? It's so funny, hee. While speaking, Krillin just stood up and fell to King Kai with a plop. King Kai was shocked again. Hee, you don't have to be so polite. Krillin raised his head. Hello, Lord Kai. Shishi turned off the gravity of the bracelet and stood up. Then he immediately turned off the gravity of Son Gaku's bracelet. Son Gaku looked at King Kai. I didn't know what greeting to say. Just then, his stomach said for him, gurgle. Shishi was stunned and turned to look at King Kai. Lord Kai, we are locked up here to practice by the gods. Excuse me, do you provide meals here at night? King Kai chuckled. Ha, I am dying of laughter. Don't you think the question just now is very interesting? I don't eat, how can King Kai provide meals? Very good, you have a good sense of humor. This sentence is very funny, you passed. Don't be shy, just laugh, ha 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 ha. Shishi was stunned for a moment. I memorized a book of jokes, but I didn't use any of them. Son Goku's focus was clearly not here. He scratched his head when he heard that there was no food. No way, there is no food here? Then we can only eat senzu beans when we practice here. One senzu bean can keep you from being hungry for 10 days, which is the ideal state. If you consume too much physical energy, such as training and fighting, the consumption of senzu beans will be large, and you can't use it like this. It's like working a lot less, eating more. If you don't work, you only need to maintain basal metabolism when eating, and the consumption is much less. The same principle. Others were also a little surprised when they saw that there was no food. King Kai laughed and said, "You guys are really interesting. My King Kai planet is actually not a place where mortals live, and there is no need to eat. So, I have neither food nor materials and kitchen utensils for cooking." Everyone was dumbfounded. Then we will starve to death here. Clin couldn't help but slap his thigh and said distressedly, "Oh no, we were careless, we didn't bring any food. I should have asked Shinyo to prepare a year's worth of food for me. Yamcha, I only had one meal along the way, and I've been hungry for 2 days. I didn't expect that I would have no food to eat when I came here. How pitiful." Tian Xinyan looked at Jiaozi, and Jiaozi looked at Tian Xinyan. The two stared at each other without saying a word. Son Goku thought about it. In the original work, Son Goku was a dead man when he came here, so he didn't need to eat. However, he was invited to a meal by Snake Princess on the way. But they are all flesh and blood. I will die if I don't eat for a few days. Although the reserve of senzu beans is still large for the time being, this thing is like toilet paper. It seems that a large box is a lot, but it may not be enough after using it. Son Goku doesn't want to be as scarce as before. He looked at King Kai and asked, "Lord King Kai, can I come again the day after tomorrow? I need to go back to Earth and bring some food." "Don't worry, my speed should be fast enough, and it will only take 2 days to come." King Kai nodded. "Okay, that's up to you." Son Goku looked at Shishi, Krillin, and the others. "You guys, if you're really hungry, just eat senzu beans first. But it's a waste to eat that as a meal to replenish your energy. Don't eat too much, don't rush to practice and waste too much energy, wait for me to come back." Speaking of this, Son Goku ran in the opposite direction. Okay. In just a moment, his speed exceeded the bullet and disappeared. King Kai was also stunned when he saw Son Goku disappear. "Didn't the god tell you that you are all living people and need to eat? How could he be so reckless and not remind you?" Shishi thought for a while and said, "God doesn't need to eat, he just needs to drink water." He probably didn't expect it. The king of the world suddenly realized and nodded. He is not an earthling at all, but an alien. "Okay, then I understand. If you guys want to practice with me, tell me a joke. As long as you can make me laugh, I will make you my apprentice." Jiaozi raised his hand and immediately said, "One day, the little white rabbit jumped to find the tortoise to race. Suddenly, the wolf slapped him in the face, and then roared, 'I told you not to wear a hat.' The next day, the little rabbit wore a hat to find the turtle to race, and the wolf slapped the little white rabbit again, and roared, 'I told you not to wear a hat.' The third day." King Kai quickly waved his hand. "No, this joke is hundreds of years behind, tell another one." Tian Xinyan's mouth twitched. "The joke book that Bulma gave me seems to be too old. Jiaozi only memorized this joke, what should I do?" Chapter 94, Lan Chi robs Son Goku. The next day at noon, after Son Goku returned to Earth, he hurried to the capsule company. He came here more often than his home. Mr. and Mrs. Brief were very familiar with him. Mrs. Brief greeted Goku directly when she saw him. "Hey, it's Goku. Didn't you go to King Kai to practice, why are you back?" Son Goku nodded. "Yes, I did. But there is no food there, I came back to bring some." "Where is Bulma? Why didn't I find her in her room and laboratory, is she not here?" Mrs. Brief squinted her eyes and smiled. "Is Bulma not here? Oh, by the way, I remember. Bulma said she wanted to make a gravity chamber for you. But there was not enough material, and there was no special company to refine that kind of material. So she went to find the material, and said she would be back in a few days." Son Goku was surprised. "Making a gravity room? Bulma is really not idle at all." Mrs. Brief smiled, and took Son Goku's arm affectionately. "It's okay, don't worry about her. I can also help with things like shopping. Aren't you going to buy some ingredients? How about this, let's make an appointment. By the way, let me go with you to buy some of your favorite food, how about it?" ECS. Mrs. Brief pinched Goku's arm and said, "Goku's muscles are really well trained." Son Goku smiled awkwardly. "I'm so sorry, since Bulma is not here, I won't bother you. And don't tell Bulma that I'm back. Shopping is just a small matter, I'll go by myself." Mrs. Brief smiled. "You and Bulma are about to get married. And you're still so polite to me, young people shouldn't be too conservative." Suddenly, Mrs. Brief opened her eyes. "Oh, right, I remember now. You eat so much, it must cost a lot of money to buy ingredients, right? Wait a minute, I'll get you some money." Mrs. Brief was about to leave after saying that. Son Goku immediately shook his head. "No, no need, I have money. I used to hunt treasure with Bulma, and we both had a lot of wealth. It only takes 9 years to buy food." Mrs. Brief covered her mouth and laughed. Oh, ha ha ha, is that so? Son Goku left Zito and went to the market by himself. He bought a lot of fresh meat, frozen meat, ham, canned food, and the like to store, and a few vegetables. After putting them all in the universal capsule, it was almost dark. Goku was going to sleep and rest enough before going to King Kai. Bulma was not at home either, so he flew to Baizai Mountain. Baizai Mountain, Son Goku team. Knock knock knock, knock knock knock, is Lan Chi at home? Lan Chi, with blue hair, was wearing pajamas and walked towards the door sleepily. Who is it? I'm Goku. Lan Chi opened the door immediately after hearing that it was Goku. Huh. Lan Chi rubbed her eyes in disbelief and looked at Son Goku again. Goku, didn't you go to King Kai to practice? Why are you back? Son Goku was helpless and explained the matter again. Lan Chi smiled and said, so that's the case. I thought you left in a hurry? If I had known, BDDC, earlier, I would have prepared for you. You are really stupid. Bulma is not here. Why didn't you come back to find me to go with you? Son Goku smiled and said, it's okay. I can buy it myself. Just some frozen meat, fresh meat, canned food, a few vegetables, nothing else. Lan Chi nodded. Well, I know you like to eat meat, so I brought a lot of meat. But for a balanced nutrition, it's better to bring some fish and some fruits. People who lack vitamins for a long time will get sick. Son Goku thought about it and immediately agreed. Oh, yes, Lan Chi is really thoughtful. I forgot about the fruit. She likes to eat fruit. I don't eat much fruit. Let's go to the morning market tomorrow to buy some. Lan Chi looked at the dark glass and said, well, it's so late. I have to go to the morning market tomorrow, so go to bed early. You look dusty, you must have been busy all day. Do you want to take a shower? I'll help you run the water. Son Goku nodded. Okay, thank you Lan Chi. Lan Chi walked to the bathroom and said while running the water, have you had dinner? I'm not hungry. I ate a senzu bean when I came back. There are some snacks and fruits on the sofa. Eat something casually. Got it. Son Goku sat on the sofa, picked up half a watermelon casually, and ate it with a spoon. Suddenly, several employment notices came into view. Son Goku picked up the list and looked at it. Zhongtong Express, Nantong Express, Baitong Express, Global Express. Son Goku couldn't help rubbing his eyebrows. He looked at the bathroom and asked, Lan Chi, are you going to work? Why are all express and logistics? Lan Chi shook the water on her hands and walked over. Yeah, I don't have any other abilities, and my education is not high. I can only do these jobs without thresholds. Son Goku nodded. Suddenly, he remembered a scene from the Majin Buu chapter. Lan Chi is old and works in a logistics company. She heard that she needed vitality and immediately raised her hands high to offer the picture of vitality. Lan Chi, in Goku's impression, has always been blue-haired and gentle, suitable to be a good wife. Son Goku looked at Lan Chi and said seriously, Lan Chi, I feel that you are not suitable for being a courier. You cook so deliciously. You should marry a good family and be a qualified housewife. Lan Chi smiled. No, I have been on a blind date before and met two men. I was originally looking for a date. But both times, when I was eating, I sneezed and almost shot the other person with a machine gun. After more than 10 years, I have never thought about this kind of thing. Now, I am old, and I think no one will want me in this life. Son Goku looked at Lan Chi in astonishment. Why does it sound so miserable? Just at this time, Lan Chi said, oh, I'll go and see. The cold water is enough. Wait for me to add some hot water to adjust the water temperature for you, and then you can take a bath. Speaking of this, Lan Chi hurried to the bathroom. Son Goku looked at Lan Chi's back, and saw her old appearance in a trance, and actually felt that she was a little lonely and a little pitiful. In the original work, she liked Tian Xinyan, but Tian Xinyan only liked dumplings, not women. Later, she left the group at some point and was never seen again. Son Goku looked at his bracelet, and suddenly remembered that he had bought so much food, spending less than 1% of his wealth. In other words, he still had so much money that even if he could eat, it would still be enough for 100 years. He immediately took out a box of treasures. After a while, Lan Chi walked out of the bathroom. Goku, the water is ready for you, go take a shower. Son Goku looked at Lan Chi. Lan Chi, if you don't like going to work, then don't go. I have a box of treasures here, even if you are very squandering, it is enough for you to spend a lifetime. Anyway, Bulma's family is so rich, and I don't need money normally, so I'll give it to you. Besides, I think I will live in Zidou in the future, so you can treat this place as your home. Lan Chi looked at the box of treasures in surprise. They were all precious gems, one of which was worth billions. And some were even big ones worth tens of billions. She was obviously a little surprised. She was about to refuse, but found that Son Goku had gone into the bathroom to take a bath. Looking at the box full of treasures, Lan Chi's eyes were actually a little moist. Goku has grown up. Lan Chi wanted to put the treasures away, but found that she couldn't move them at all. Without the transformation, she was just a weak woman. Thinking of this, Lan Chi's nose was a little sour. Achoo! In an instant, the weakness and grievance on Lan Chi's face disappeared, and immediately turned into greed and wildness. She easily moved the treasures to her bedroom, and then walked to the bathroom. Son Goku was still taking a bath, and suddenly, the door was kicked open. Lan Chi, what are you doing? Robbery, robbery, what are you doing? Robbery. Son Goku was still taking a bath, and suddenly, the door was kicked open. Robbery, what are you doing? Robbery. Son Goku was still taking a bath, and then he was kicked open. Robbery, what are you doing? Robbery. Son Goku's mouth twitched. Have you forgotten? I just gave you all my treasures. I have no money on me. Lan Chi's mouth corners raised high. It's not a robbery. You are handsome and strong. Let me rob you. Stop it, Lan Chi. Lan Chi said word by word, Son, Go, Kong, who is arguing with you? I am serious. Do you know how many years I have coveted you? What, do you look down on me and dislike me? Then I will leave. Son Goku wanted to fight back. But when he heard Lan Chi's words, he didn't know what to do for a while. The most hurtful sentence to a woman, put it on, I'm not that kind of person. So, he didn't resist anymore and let down all his defenses. Lan Chi's mouth corners showed a smug look again. Spring is here, and everything is revived. That night, the atmosphere on Baizai Mountain became strange. Previous chapter. TOC. Next chapter. Chapter 95. 2 years later, reunion. After Son Goku returned to King Kai's planet, everyone passed King Kai's joke test. King Kai immediately arranged the first training. First, you have to overcome the gravity here and catch Bobrus, King Kai's monkey. If you can't do this, don't mention anything else. Everyone nodded and said in unison, got it. Then, a fierce chase began. King Kai saw that everyone ran very fast, and a look of satisfaction appeared on his face. Well, not bad, the foundation is pretty good. King Kai went back to make tea. When a pot of tea was just brewed, he was notified outside that everyone had caught Bobrus once. King Kai was shocked. What, caught it now? Everyone nodded. King Kai looked at Bobrus in disbelief and asked, is it true? Bobrus also nodded pitifully. A drop of sweat appeared on King Kai's forehead. I saw you guys were still having difficulty moving a few days ago. How could you adapt to the gravity here so quickly? Shishi wiped the sweat off his face and said, the gravity here is 10 times that of Earth. We've known that for a long time. Shishi pointed to the bracelet on her wrist. Each of us wears one bracelet. It was invented by Bulma. It can adjust your weight to 10 times. When we were training on Earth, we had already adapted to the tenfold gravity. So, if we don't turn on the bracelet's gravity multiplier, it will be easy to catch this monkey. King Kai looked at the bracelets of several people and couldn't help but take a breath. So, you all have super heavy equipment on you. That's amazing. Krillin scratched his head and smiled. Lord King Kai, can we learn martial arts now? King Kai thought for a while and said, are you all ready? My training is much harder than that of the gods. The 6 people nodded in unison. Ready. Although the slogans were not very neat, the momentum was unstoppable. King Kai smiled and said, very good. You are all very energetic. Since you all accept my guidance, then you must do whatever I say, and no objection is allowed. Do you understand? Everyone nodded again. Understood. This time, the slogans were shouted in an especially uniform manner. King Kai took a deep breath and said, the practice of martial arts, whether it is the mind or the body, cannot be separated from the polishing of time. So, rushing for success often results in half the effort with twice the results. I see that you are all very adapted to the 10 times gravity, and it seems that you have a lot of spare energy. This proves that you still have a lot of room for improvement. Then, you can turn on that gravity bracelet, and continue to adapt to gravity by grabbing Bobrus, until all of you have reached the limit of your physical body. Then, I will start to teach you. Everyone looked at me, and I looked at you. It seems that King Ao did not do anything except taking advantage of the 10 times gravity of King Kai's planet. This practice seems to be Master Roshi's version of milk delivery practice. King Kai saw through the doubts of several people at a glance, and asked back, why, did you just agree to me? You must do whatever I say, and you are not allowed to refute. Everyone nodded. Yes. King Kai raised his mouth and smiled. Very good, let's start. After that, King Kai went back to the house to drink tea. Everyone nodded again. Then each of them adjusted the gravity multiples that they could barely accept and began a somewhat boring practice. Goku adjusted the gravity to 3 times, and added the gravity of King Kai's planet, that is 30 times gravity. Such gravity is acceptable to him, but his movements are greatly hindered and the pressure is also great. It's like an adult chasing a monkey with a bag of cement on his back. Others are also in this mode. Krillin and Shishi are close to Goku in strength. Tien Xinyan, Yamcha, and Jiaozi are a distance away. However, practicing on the same small planet, they can see how Goku and others practice. They dare not relax, and practice very hard. Time passed day by day. When King Kai knew that some of them had begun to adapt to 50 times gravity, he was shocked. These people are mortals, and for gods, the training time is very short. However, the basic strength has been polished to be very strong. It far exceeds King Kai's own strength. This foundation is inseparable from the teachings of Master Roshi, the power of technology provided by Bulma, and of course, the guidance of Mr. Karen and Mr. Popo, which are all crucial. The only shortcoming is that their training was too smooth. They basically did not encounter any bottlenecks or strong enemies. The boring training has made some of them lack motivation and their strength is close to the bottleneck. However, this bottleneck is already very strong for King Kai. He didn't say anything more. Unknowingly, a year has passed. Goku has adapted to 100 times gravity. Shishi and Krillin have also adapted to about 80 times. Tian Xinyan is more hardworking in training and has also adapted to 80 times gravity. As for Jiaoze and Yamsha, they are all around 50 times gravity. Except for Gaku, who really can't increase the multiple, everyone else has reached the bottleneck for a while. So, King Kai began the second stage of teaching. Next, I will start to teach you my special moves, which are Kaioken and Spirit Bomb. However, Kaioken is something I have only researched for a few years, so it is not very perfect. When you try Kaioken, you must control your breath, otherwise it is easy to be backfired. In addition, only by mastering this move and deeply understanding the power of Kaioken, can you transform and sublimate it in use. I'm sorry that even I, the inventor, haven't mastered it. So the perfection of Kaioken is left to you to do. Everyone was a little surprised when they heard what King Kai said. Son Goku had an idea. Could it be that the reason why Kaioken hurts the body is because the technique is not perfect? Seeing everyone's doubts, King Kai immediately coughed. Why, don't you want to learn? Although I haven't learned it, I have taught several apprentices. To learn this martial art, you need a very high talent and understanding. And the cultivation of the physical body is the top priority. The stronger the physical body, the more times Kaioken can be opened. On the contrary, a body that has not been polished by time cannot withstand the pressure of several times its own weight, let alone the powerful force brought by Kaioken. Hearing this, everyone seemed to be almost enlightened. No wonder he let them continue on King Kai for a year even though they had reached the level of mastering 10 times the gravity. Laying the foundation for learning skills no matter how much basic training you do, it will not be a loss. Everyone nodded. Got it. The tentacles on King Kai's forehead twitched a few times, and he smiled. Very good, then, let's start teaching Kaioken. In a blink of an eye, a month later, Gaku learned Kaioken. A month and a half later, Tian Xinyan learned Kaioken. 2 months later, Krillin learned Kaioken. 3 months later, Xian learned. Half a year later, Yamcha learned Kaioken. A year later, Jiaoze gave up Kaioken. Because Gaku couldn't increase the gravity he was bearing. He thought of a solution that was not a solution, and put on a set of weight-bearing clothes. The weight immediately doubled, and with the gravity bracelet, and the gravity of King Kai's planet, he could withstand up to 200 times the gravity. Except Jiaoze who didn't catch up with everyone's progress, everyone else could adapt to 100 times the gravity. Even Yamcha did it. So far, everyone has been on King Kai's planet for 2 years. King Kai looked at everyone's training results and was very satisfied. Everyone, I have taught you for 2 years so far. Your strength has far surpassed mine. I have also taught you Kaioken and Spirit Bomb. It will not work for you to continue practicing here. If you have nothing else to do, you can all go back. Everyone was surprised. Has it been 2 years? It feels like yesterday. Krillin also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, we are going back. If we were not so many people, I would have almost suffocated to death. Shishi laughed. Krillin is thinking about Shinyo. Everyone immediately burst into laughter. Unspecified currency A, unspecified currency A, unspecified currency A, unspecified currency A, unspecified currency A. Krillin looked at everyone with a bitter face and said disdainfully, "What's so funny? You all have no partners, single dogs." Yamcha, Tian Xinyan, and Jiaoze were speechless. Tian Xinyan and Jiaoze were fine, they didn't think about that at all, and never thought about women. But Yamcha looked a little distressed. He was shy when he saw women and didn't dare to date strange girls. But in fact, he also hoped to have a girlfriend to marry him. Gaku and Shishi automatically ignored Krillin's words. After all, they were a pair, childhood sweethearts, and never single dogs. Shishi excitedly clenched his fists with both hands and looked at Gaku. "We are finally going back. Gaku, are you happy?" Son Gaku nodded. "Yeah, happy. Although it is good to practice here, there are no extracurricular activities except practice, which is a bit boring." Shishi took Gaku's hand and said, "Then, let's go back. Let Bulma take us out to play, and relax for a few days." "Okay, it's settled." However, Shishi, after returning to Earth, you must control your own strength and never use it arbitrarily. Shishi nodded. "Yeah, I know." Others also understood this truth. Being able to withstand 100 times the gravity and having practiced for so long, even without opening Kaioken, all of them are more than 10 times stronger than when they came. If they don't know how to suppress their breath, they may kill ordinary people with a casual touch. This precise training of strength and the suppression of breath is also a daily training for everyone. By controlling breath and strength, they can not only avoid accidentally hurting ordinary people in their lives, but also greatly save physical energy. After bidding farewell to King Kai, everyone went home in high spirits. 1,000 kilometers west of Zedu, close to the sea, there is a very luxurious holiday estate here. There are not many people in the estate, only a dozen chefs, pastry chefs, and no guests. Because this is Bulma's private estate. It was afternoon, and Bulma was wearing a swimsuit, sitting under a parasol, blowing the sea breeze, and drinking afternoon tea. Not far behind her, there was a huge building. That was the gravity training room she built for Gaku and the others. It is tens of thousands of square meters, larger than a concert hall. Not only is it large, Bulma also equipped it with some fitness equipment, water dispensers, beverage machines, etc. The configuration is luxurious. However, after it was built, no one has ever entered this rehistory. Bulma adjusted her sunglasses and took a sip of tea. It seems like it's been 2 years. Why hasn't Goku, that heartless guy, come back yet? Thinking of Son Goku's somewhat clear and stupid face, Bulma smiled unconsciously. At this moment, a hearty voice came into Bulma's ears. Bulma, I'm back. Hearing this haunting voice, Bulma trembled all over. She suddenly took off her sunglasses and stood up. Goku, wearing a martial arts uniform, was standing in front of him. His facial features were obviously the same as 2 years ago, but his eyes were no longer as clear and stupid as before, and his face had lost that silly look. Bulma couldn't help but pounce on Son Goku, and buried herself in his arms. You stinky boy, you have no conscience, you haven't come back for 2 years. As she said that, Bulma raised her little fist and smashed it towards Son Goku. As her little fist continued to vent on Goku's chest, Bulma's happy tears were about to fall. Son Goku raised his hand and grabbed Bulma's wrist at this moment, stopping Bulma's action on the spot. Bulma was interrupted from venting her emotions and was stunned for a moment. She looked at Son Goku in disbelief. The previous Son Goku would never stop her. Just as she wanted to break free, she found that Goku's hand was like an iron clamp and could not be shaken at all. Bulma pursed her nose and raised her left hand again to touch Goku. As a result, Son Goku grabbed both hands. At the moment she was stunned, Son Goku pushed her against the wall behind her. I miss you, Ma. Bulma was stunned. The next second, Son Goku pressed her against the wall, and then kissed her deeply. It was the first time that Bulma felt such a rough action from Goku, but she was not angry, but secretly delighted. Feeling his breath, she tiptoed and responded to him fiercely. It seemed that she had missed him for too long. Her body trembled unconsciously at this moment. She held Son Goku tightly with her hands. Her not very long nails almost dug into the flesh of his back. Previous chapter 96 Raditz arrives on Earth. Bulma's seaside holiday estate. A red banner was hung at the entrance of the estate. Sunbula's 2-year-old birthday party. There were not many people in the estate, only some of Bulma's close friends. The two people's circle of friends was basically the same, such as Krillin, Tien Shinyan, and others. There were also friends' families, and Bulma's parents, sister, and others. Those half-familiar friends were not invited. Krillin and Shinyo led a soft little girl into the estate. Seeing Krillin's family coming, Bulma immediately went up to greet them. Hey, world champion Krillin is here. Welcome, welcome. It's really a great honor for your family to come today. Krillin smiled faintly, bent down, and looked at his daughter. Ho ho, this is Aunt Bulma, call Auntie. The little girl hid behind Krillin, showing a little eye and looking at Bulma. Her eyes were full of curiosity, but she didn't speak. Snow looked at Bulma and smiled. Huo has been shy since she was a child, but she gets familiar with the environment quickly. Maybe she will be fine after playing for a while. Bulma smiled and took a box from the waiter on the side, and then took out a princess doll. She bent down and looked at Huo. So your name is Huo, you are so cute. Call me Auntie, can I give this to you? Huo blinked her clear eyes and immediately shouted, Auntie. As she said that, she opened her arms and wanted to hug the doll. Huo is so good. As she said that, Bulma gave the doll to Huo. Krillin scratched his head in embarrassment. Bulma still has a way, a doll bought her, ha 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 ha. Bulma smiled, that's right, my family also has daughters, naturally I know what they like. Krillin nodded, that's right, but I heard from Goku that the child seems to be very naughty. Bulma shrugged helplessly and smiled, the child's personality is not like Goku at all, but it is exactly the same as when I was a child, more cheerful. But the physique is like Goku, and he is very good at fighting at the age of 2. He beat several children from the neighbor's house and made them cry several times. Now the children around are avoiding her and don't play with her, haha, Hearing Bulma say this, Snow's eyes suddenly became serious. If you say that, Bulma, you have to be careful. You must educate it well. If the child goes astray, it will be bad. Bulma smiled, well, I know this. Don't worry, the child is naughty, but he knows the limit. Okay, don't stand there. Go in quickly, the meal will start soon. Krillin and Snow both nodded, and then walked into the manor with a smile. After a while, Master Roshi, Jiaozi, Tien Shinyan, and others came. Teacher Wu Tian is still so energetic. Tien Shinyan, you haven't found a girlfriend yet. After a while, all the friends arrived. The birthday party was also going on happily. Master Roshi looked at the naughty son Beulah running around, and a trace of joy flashed in his eyes. By the way, Goku, why is the child's tail gone? Son Goku nodded, well, the gods restored the moon 2 years ago. I was worried that she would become a gorilla. So I asked the gods to help remove her tail. Bulma nodded, yes, it's okay for a boy, but she is a girl. If other children are curious about her tail, and arouse curiosity about her body, then there will be problems. Everyone nodded. Snow nodded, that makes sense. It's really strange for a girl to have a tail. It's even worse for a grown-up girl. Although having more tails may be more convenient, removing the tail is the right choice. Krillin couldn't help but look at Goku and said, I know a little history. People in the past evolved from apes and may have tails. The coccyx has not yet completely degenerated. But as humans evolve, there are no tails anymore. I thought Goku was the only exception. That's called a genetic mutation. I didn't expect Goku's child to have a tail, which is a bit distressing. Shishi laughed. Bulma said that Goku is not actually from Earth, but a child sent by aliens. Goku is an alien? Ha ha ha, that's really interesting. Could it be that Gaku is an invasive species? Ha ha. Aaa. Everyone laughed. Bulma and Gaku listened to the discussion and laughed. At this time, Shishi was obviously not as happy as everyone else and was a little frustrated. This was seen by Yoruo. Sino walked to Shishi and looked at Shishi. The two of them started talking in private. Shishi, I remember that you and Gaku were childhood sweethearts and grew up together. How come Bulma and Gaku's daughter is 2 years old, and you haven't given birth to a child for him? Shishi nodded. I want to have a child, but I can't do strenuous exercise when I'm pregnant. I can't accompany Gaku to practice for at least 3 years, so I'm not in a hurry to have a child. Sino nodded. That's right, but you are a girl after all. Is practice really that important? Shishi's originally depressed face showed a smile. She said, actually, for me, practice is not important. What's important is that I like to practice with Gaku. Sino was speechless. After a moment, Shino smiled and said, yes, you can go to the temple with Gaku to practice, and go to King Kai's planet to practice. During those years, Bulma was basically alone at home. She hadn't seen Gaku for several years. Thinking about it this way, you are still the most comfortable. Shishi nodded and smiled again. Yes, everything has its gains and losses. Although I am envious of Bulma and Gaku's 2-year-old child, I prefer to spend more time with Gaku than having a child. As she said this, Shishi's face suddenly turned red. She whispered to Snow, Bra is 2 years old now, and it's time to take care of her. Bulma has to sleep in the same bed with the child at night. Gaku sleeps with me, and I can't tell you how happy I am now. Snow nodded. It's the same. The child is young and wakes up several times at night. Yuanlin has also moved to the next room to sleep. It's not very convenient to have a child. But I heard that the child can sleep by himself after he turns 3. Shishi nodded. Yeah, that's right. When Bra doesn't sleep in the same bed with Bulma anymore, I'm going to have a child, and I'll let Gaku spend more time with Bulma in the future. Snow smiled. I really envy your family. There are 3 people, but they are so harmonious. Shishi smiled. He. This is actually thanks to Bulma. She knows more than me. In addition to taking care of Gaku, she also takes special care of me. Snow nodded again. Yeah, that's right. I felt it a long time ago. Bulma has a high IQ and an even higher EQ, so it's much more comfortable to communicate with her. Shishi nodded. Yes, I now realize that little Beulah is only 2 years old, but she is more sensible than I was when I was 3 or 4 years old. Just then, Huo ran over. Mom, take me to the beach. I want to pick up crabs. Sino nodded. Okay, Mom, go get a small bucket. Let's see who picks up more. Okay. Then take 2. Dad and I are in the same group. Okay. North, grassland. Raditz landed. He walked out of the aircraft with a look of disdain on his face. How come the people on this planet are alive? Cockroach this kid. As he said, Raditz found a farmer and immediately walked towards him. The farmer saw that Raditz was tall and intimidating, and was a little scared. So he immediately pointed his gun at him. Who are you? Don't come over, or I'll shoot. Raditz raised the corner of his mouth high. Beep beep beep. The detector started working at this moment. A scum with a combat power of only 5, he. As he spoke, the farmer's gun fired, and a bullet shot at Raditz. Raditz reached out and grabbed the bullet. The farmer was startled and turned around and ran. Raditz flicked his finger, and the bullet shot back at the farmer, piercing his heart directly. Raditz looked at the fallen farmer and said disdainfully, what a foolish and weak nation. Let's see where Kakarot is first. As he said that, Raditz began to press the detector. Hey, there is a guy with huge energy over there, and the energy reaction is so strong. It's more than 4,000 kilometers away. It should be Kakarot, right? Raditz smiled, and then flew in that direction. The 4,800 kilometers away was none other than Piccolo. He has mastered the perception of breath. When Raditz approached, Piccolo suddenly noticed such a strong breath flying towards him, and was also surprised. Such a strong breath is actually coming towards me. Could it be Son Goku? As soon as the voice fell, Raditz's figure came into view. Piccolo's pupils shrank. It's not him. Raditz stopped immediately after seeing Piccolo. He said with a proud look, oh, is this the native of this planet? It's not Kakarot, what a pity. Piccolo looked at Raditz cautiously and asked, who are you? Raditz smiled, people like you are useless to me. Piccolo was not polite at all. Then why are you here? Am I going to die? Raditz pressed the detector while laughing. Huh, what an arrogant guy. At this moment, the detector chat sounded. Raditz was also surprised when he saw the combat power of the detector. What? The combat power is as high as more than 900. Is there such a powerful person on this planet? Piccolo heard the other party praising him, and the corners of his mouth raised high, and asked back, what are you talking about? Are you scared? Raditz snorted coldly, asshole, do you know who you are talking to? Piccolo felt the other party's unrestrained breath, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This guy's energy is really amazing. Hearing Raditz's threatening words, Piccolo couldn't bear it and took action directly. He raised one hand and an energy bomb hit Raditz. Bang! With a sound, the energy bomb hit Raditz and exploded. A cloud of smoke and 0.7 dust dissipated with the wind, and Raditz was still standing there, unharmed. Piccolo was shocked. He took such a heavy blow from me, but he was unharmed. Raditz fanned the air casually and said with a smile, your strength is too weak. You just let me get a little dust on me. You have made a move before, this time it is my turn, right? Let you also see my true strength. As he said, Raditz was about to attack him. However, at this moment, Raditz suddenly thought of something. No, although your strength is a little worse than mine, you should be the top existence on this planet. Raditz's eyes fixed and asked, could it be that the Kakarot of this planet was killed by you? Piccolo felt that this battle was inevitable, and immediately took off his hat and ripped off his cloak. I Piccolo Daimao killed someone, and I have to explain to others? I don't know who the Kakarot you are talking about is. Anyway, if you want to fight, just come over. As he said this, Piccolo suddenly roared, and his aura suddenly increased. 900, 1000, 1100, 1300, Raditz's detector suddenly rang again. Raditz took a breath. The combat power can actually change with control. It seems that you belong to a very powerful race. Also, who are you? Did you kill Kakarot? Chapter 97 Raditz's scalp is tingling. Piccolo could clearly sense that Raditz's aura was stronger than his, and he was extremely cautious at the moment. He didn't want to fight this guy rashly, and immediately responded, I don't know the Kakarot you are talking about, and I have never heard of this name. Raditz raised his eyebrows. You haven't heard of it, it shouldn't be. This planet cannot sense other powerful energies. Even if he is just a Saiyan lower-level warrior, his strength will not grow too slowly. Moreover, this planet does not have a moon. It stands to reason that Kakarot should not be killed. Piccolo looked at Raditz. Suddenly, he saw the tail wrapped around Raditz's waist, and his pupils shrank suddenly. Tail. Has a tail like Son Goku, could it be? Seeing Piccolo's abnormality and hearing him muttering about the tail, Raditz's mouth curled up. Why, you remembered. There is a person with a tail like you, but his name is not Kakarot, his name is Goku. Raditz was stunned again. Son Goku. At this moment, Raditz's detection moved forward. Another more powerful energy reaction has appeared. It must be Kakarot. Ignoring Piccolo, Raditz flew straight to the direction of the energy reaction. Halfway through, Raditz was a little confused. The green-skinned man he had just met had a combat power of 1300, and could control his combat power. On such a remote planet, it was already amazing. If Kakarot was still alive, he should have killed him, or been killed by him. In his mind, it was difficult for him to understand that there were two strong men on the same planet if they were not of the same race. Soon, Raditz came to Bulma's holiday estate. He saw Son Goku in the crowd at a glance, because he was also walking towards him. At the same time, Raditz also saw many Earthlings. And, from this scene, it was clear that they seemed to be celebrating something. Soon, Raditz and Son Goku came together and looked at each other. Raditz said with a smile, Hey, brother, you've grown up. I recognized you at first sight. You look exactly like your father. Son Goku also looked at Raditz and called out his name. Raditz. Hearing Raditz calling him brother, Goku also called out his name, and the others were all surprised. Goku, why didn't you tell me that you have a brother? Yeah, I haven't even heard of it. Shishi also looked at Raditz with curiosity, and then looked at Son Goku, opposing the comparison. Bulma heard the conversation between the two and walked to Goku in surprise. She was holding Son Bula in her arms. Bulma was a little doubtful and turned around and asked, Goku, you have a brother, why didn't you tell me? Son Goku nodded. I was too young at that time and only remembered a little. Bulma knew that Raditz was Son Goku's brother, but she didn't expect Son Goku to know his brother. Because in the previous life, after Goku hit his head, he became a different person, and he lost all his previous memories. Just when he thought of this, a flash of lightning flashed through Bulma's mind, and her thoughts became clear in an instant. It's the butterfly effect again? Goku didn't hit his head when he was a child, and he didn't lose his memory? Raditz said angrily, Kakarot, what's wrong with this planet? Have you forgotten that your mission is to destroy the humans on this planet, and have you integrated into this planet? Everyone was stunned when they heard that Goku's mission was to destroy the humans on this planet. In their eyes, Goku is a peace-loving person, kind, upright, and can ride the cloud. That kind of cruel mission has nothing to do with Son Goku. Son Goku explained, I have never had any mission. I only remember that when my parents sent me here, they told me to live. Raditz's eyes fixed. Is this the reason why you didn't kill all the people on Earth? Son Goku pulled Bulma and then hugged Shishi. I got married on this planet and have my own family. Now this is my home. Goku took Bulma's arms and continued, Today is my daughter's 2nd birthday, and I'm holding a birthday party for her. If you come to the party, we welcome you. If you come to make trouble, I don't mind fighting you. Raditz's mouth curled up. Oh, my stupid brother? You actually integrated into such an ignorant nation, and you still want to fight me. You really disappoint me. At this time, Krillin came over. Hey, you guy, you are too arrogant. Don't say nonsense about destroying all mankind. Goku is not that kind of person. We are all brothers like Goku. If you make Goku embarrassed, if you dare to harm the earth, no matter if you are Son Goku's brother or not, I will not forgive you. Raditz looked down at the little Krillin with disdain on his face. He didn't say anything, and the tail swept towards him. He thought he would sweep the little bald head away directly, but after sweeping it out, he found that it was empty. When he realized that something was wrong, Krillin's figure flashed in front of him. Krillin showed a smirk at the corner of his mouth, and then he kneed him hard in the abdomen. Raditz suddenly groaned miserably and took several steps back. His abdomen was spasming from the blow, and his body was twitching uncontrollably. At the same time, his detector clicked. The combat power value soared from a few points to more than 2,000. Seeing this number, Raditz was shocked. This little bald head actually has more than 2,000 combat power, which is stronger than his strength. It was also stronger than the green-skinned man he met when he landed. At the same time, Raditz also detected Cockroach, and his wife's combat power fluctuated. Although it didn't increase much. But the fluctuation of combat power would not lie. They really intended to attack him. Fortunately, the little bald guy kicked him. And he didn't intend to continue to attack, and his eyes were on the back. The combat power also dropped from more than 2,000 to single digits. Raditz combined Piccolo's combat power fluctuations and figured it out. The people on this planet have mastered the method of controlling combat power. Raditz was very nervous, but more confused. According to his intelligence, the Earth is very weak, and humans are very weak, and they should be scum in combat. But he was just knocked down by a mere Earthling. He really felt the terrifying strength of the little bald guy. It seems that if he is more arrogant, even if he is Cockroach's brother, he will still be killed by him. Raditz's eyes flickered, and he immediately calculated in his mind. Suddenly, his expression brightened, and he immediately thought of his purpose. He might as well just build some connections and explain his purpose. Raditz stood up and said, Cockroach, since you have married and had children on this planet, for your sake, the humans on this planet don't have to be killed. Earth is just a remote little planet anyway. Vegeta shouldn't mind. You and I are the same, both Saiyan, the most powerful fighting nation in the universe. You shouldn't live comfortably on this small planet. My main goal here is to invite you to join us. I am now working under King Frieza, the most powerful king in the universe. Come on, join Vegeta's elite team with me to seize the planet. As long as we work hard, we brothers will make a career together. Son Goku thought of many scenes. Still didn't expect Raditz to look like this when he came to Earth. What is this? It feels a bit familiar. It seems like the elder brother who went out to work. Specially came to the mountain village from afar, and took his uneducated younger brother out to work. Yes, that's the taste. Raditz saw Son Goku seem to be hesitating and asked immediately. What's wrong, Kakarot? You are a fighting nation? Are you intoxicated by the gentleness of life? Son Goku shook his head. Go away, I don't like working for others. Raditz was stunned. Gee. Just then, Bulma spoke. Hey, you said that your Vegeta elite team is working for the strongest Frieza Corps in the universe, right? Raditz nodded. Yes, our team is all elite. Bulma and Goku couldn't help laughing in their hearts, but they held it back on the surface. A team of only 3 people is indeed an elite team. The planet is gone, and there is no one to replenish it. Bulma continued, you still say that the harming people are the strongest fighting nation in the universe. Raditz nodded again. Yes, that's right. Since you are the strongest fighting nation in the universe, why give history to others? Raditz was stunned. This. Bulma immediately made a suggestion, since you said so, then let's do this. You call your captain, let's discuss together, and kill Frieza together. Let Saiyan dominate the universe, how great it would be. Raditz immediately broke out in a cold sweat and his scalp tingled. He realized that the detector was still on, and immediately turned off the detector in panic. Then he scolded, woman, don't talk nonsense. Frieza is very powerful, if he hears us, we will all be finished. Chapter 98 Killing Nappa. In the distant universe, Vegeta and Raditz just killed all the humans on a planet and occupied the planet. At this moment, the two were enjoying a delicious and arrogant feast. Vegeta was eating happily, and Nappa spit out the food in his mouth. What part is this? The meat is so disgusting and smelly. Vegeta was not affected at all and continued to gnaw on the green arm. Just eat until you are full, don't talk so much nonsense. Suddenly, Nappa noticed that Raditz's detector was turned off and was stunned for a moment. Vegeta, are you there? Raditz, that loser, was beaten by an Earthling. It's really embarrassing for us Saiyans. Vegeta nodded, that guy from Earth. Although his combat power is only more than 2,000, he can still beat Raditz steadily. Raditz is really an unlucky guy. Nappa smiled, it's not his fault. Since our planet Vegeta disappeared, we have been fighting, and have never lived on a planet with high gravity. Otherwise, with Raditz's talent, at least his strength can be improved to the same level as mine. Vegeta snorted coldly, without conditions, you can't practice yourself? In my opinion, losers are losers. Nappa smiled casually and didn't continue talking about Raditz. He suddenly asked curiously, but, Vegeta, don't you think it's strange? The gravity of the Earth is so much lower than that of our former planet Vegeta. Why are the Earthlings so powerful? Vegeta's mouth corners slightly raised. Who knows? Just one person can easily increase the combat power to more than 2,000. And there are several powerful energy reactions around, which are always fluctuating. It seems that the Earth is not as simple as the intelligence says, and there are many powerful guys hidden. Nappa smiled, it's just 2,000, which is still far behind you, Vegeta. It seems that Raditz can't bring Kakarot back. We can't add more people, it's a pity. What should we do next? Vegeta raised the corners of his mouth high and smiled, no pity. Kakarot, that guy, really surprised me. Not only did he not invade the Earth, but he also regarded it as his home. married a wife, and made some very powerful friends. However, this is also very good. I thought that if we send Raditz over to sea, we can add a warrior if we are lucky. But judging from the situation, those people are better than Raditz, that waste. If we can recruit them, our team can add several people. Nappa was stunned. Then he asked back, no, Vegeta, are you going to recruit those Earthlings? Is there a problem? Vegeta answered him casually without delaying his meal. Nappa, however, became very serious. Vegeta, have you forgotten their conversation just now? Kakarot, that guy seems to have completely integrated into the Earth. Listening to him, his personality is not arrogant. That kind of guy doesn't want to invade the planet at all. Vegeta looked at Nappa and asked with some disdain. Nappa, why did you ignore the last sentence? The last sentence. Suddenly, a flash of lightning flashed through Nappa's mind. You mean, that woman's proposal? We join forces to kill Frieza. Vegeta nodded. I'm very interested in this proposal. Nappa's pupils shrank, and he immediately asked, Vegeta, what do you mean? Are you crazy? Don't you understand how powerful Frieza is? Just the few strong men under him are not something we can contend with. And the powerful and invincible Ginyu Force is not something we can mess with. Frieza's strength is even more unfathomable. Don't even think about it, Vegeta. Vegeta looked at Nappa, then looked up at the sky. His eyes were full of anger. That woman is right. Saiyans are the strongest fighting race in the entire universe. As a Saiyan, how can you be willing to be inferior to others? Becoming the strongest in the universe is the destiny of Saiyans. I have been enduring in Frieza's army for so many years, and I have had enough. Nappa immediately retorted, but, Vegeta, ideals are ideals. Frieza is too strong. We can no longer imagine how strong he is. His current strength is not at all what we can reach. You should understand. Even if those Earthlings are very powerful, they can't surpass you. Even if we join forces, we can't be Frieza's opponent. What's more, there are only a few Saiyans in the entire universe now. We can't make any waves. Vegeta looked at Nappa, clenched his fists, and was a little angry. Nappa, this bastard. There is no pride of Saiyan at all. He is a complete dog, and not very obedient. If Vegeta's planet had not been lost, there would be no way to replenish the harmful fighters. He really didn't want to use this guy. Vegeta snorted coldly, and looked at Nappa with a very fierce expression. Nappa, you coward. You have been a dog for Frieza for so many years. Have you lost your Saiyan backbone? Are you going to be a dog for that bastard for the rest of your life? Seeing Vegeta's fierce expression, Nappa immediately stopped his objection. Vegeta, I know I was wrong. You are right, as a Saiyan, I must have the pride of a Saiyan. I will do whatever you say. Vegeta snorted coldly, then don't waste time. Go and prepare the aircraft, we will go to the Earth first. Nappa didn't say anything else, and went to prepare the aircraft on his own. Vegeta didn't seem to be full, and continued to eat. A moment later, Vegeta's detector suddenly received a message. It was still the woman's voice. Vegeta, you should have heard the previous conversation, right? If you want to kill Frieza, then come to Earth quickly. There are 7 Dragon Balls on Earth, which can fulfill many wishes, even resurrection. With this tool, Frieza can be easily defeated. After the voice was finished, the detector was immediately turned off. Vegeta's eyes fixed. Dragon Ball? I think I have heard of this thing. Could it be that the legend of the Dragon Ball on Umak is true? When Nappa was far away from Vegeta, he immediately lost his previous respect and cursed. Damn, Vegeta, that idiot. Wouldn't it be better to just fight the planets? You can enjoy fighting every day, have food and drink, and get bonuses. You live such a happy life, but you actually want to rebel against King Frieza? Humph. You can die if you want to, I won't go to Earth. But then Nappa's forehead broke out in cold sweat again. No, if I don't listen to Vegeta, if I don't go with him, he will kill me, but if I go with him, if I can't beat King Frieza, then I will die even more miserably. Suddenly, Nappa's eyes lit up. He immediately dialed the contact number of the headquarters. Hello, is this Frieza headquarters? I'm Nappa, Vegeta, that guy, he wants to rebel against King Frieza. And he's going to Earth now. Yes, that's right. Tell the king that I, Nappa, will always be loyal to King Frieza. Okay, I'll go with him. After hanging up the phone, Nappa breathed a sigh of relief. I'm so smart. So, let them go and fight Frieza? Even so, if I lose to King Frieza, I can get away with it. But if I really win, it will be no loss for me. I'm so smart, hee, ha 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 ha. Just at this moment, Vegeta's voice came over. Nappa, what are you laughing at? Nappa was startled and immediately looked at Vegeta. No, nothing, I just think that I can defeat King Frieza. I'm happy, hee hee. Just as the voice fell, Vegeta's hand knife, no Hao Zhao, had penetrated Nappa's chest. The next moment, Nappa was blasted into slag by Vegeta with a horrified look in his eyes. Vegeta snorted coldly. Stupid guy, he actually betrayed me? Damn it, he informed me. Now I have no way out? I hope the Earth can give me some surprises. After that, Vegeta boarded the aircraft alone. Earth. Sunbula's banquet ended almost at night. All the friends went back, and Xian and Bulma also took their daughter back to Zoto. Son Goku was still in the holiday manor at this time. After all, Raditz was his brother, and he had no grudge against him, so Son Goku felt that there was no need to turn against him. Like Bulma said, as long as there is a common enemy, he can immediately become a companion. Although it may not be reliable for the time being, people have feelings. As time goes by, and they spend a long time together, they will change. So, Son Goku took Raditz to see the training room, showed him the gravity bracelet, and left him 10 senzu beans. After placing him here, he took his detector away, and then Son Goku left. Seeing the technology here on Earth, Raditz was shocked. He seemed to have completely understood why the Earthlings were so strong. Chapter 99, Battle Strength Survey, Shocking Raditz. Capsule Corporation. In Bulma's laboratory, Shishi was a little curious about what Bulma was doing in the middle of the night. So she walked in with a cup of coffee. Shishi asked, Bulma, it's so late, why don't you sleep? Bulma took off the glasses that blocked the welding and looked at Shishi. It's Shishi, are Shira and Goku asleep? Shishi nodded, yes, they are both asleep. I came to see you. Do you need to refresh yourself? I made you a cup of coffee. Thank you, don't stand, just sit down. Bulma reached out to take the coffee and took a sip. Shishi also pulled a chair and sat next to her. Shishi saw the combat power detector on the table that was disassembled into parts at a glance, and couldn't help but be surprised. Huh? Isn't this the detector of Raditz? Is it broken? Are you helping him fix it? Bulma shook her head, it's not broken, but this thing is a product of Frisia's army. The terminal is with Frisia. I have to change it and cut off the connection with the main server before we can use it. Shishi's face was full of question marks. Bulma, I know every word you say, but I can't understand it together. Bulma smiled faintly, then put down the coffee, and very skillfully picked up a cigarette and lit it. She took a deep breath, blew out a smoke ring, and said, well, this is how you understand it. This detector is like an Apple phone. It eavesdrops on everything you say in your daily life. All this data is uploaded to the headquarters of the Apple company. The privacy of all Apple phone users has been stolen. Of course, many other phones are also like this. This is called big data collection. Shishi nodded in sudden enlightenment. Oh, I know this. For example, if I mention that my stockings are running out, I will complain casually, and then my phone will always push information about various stocking stores to me. For example, if I say I am fat, I will definitely be given diet pills for the next few days. Bulma nodded and said, yes, that's what I mean. But the mobile phone company collects our information in order to sell us things and make money from us. However, this detector is what Raditz said, the technological product of the Universe Emperor Frisia. All the data generated by the detector will be uploaded to the headquarters of the Frisia army. You know, that is a Universe army. Shishi was stunned for a moment. Universe army? You mean, what we said before, such as the sentence about killing Frisia, was actually stolen by it and uploaded to Frisia's army? Bulma nodded. Yes, that's what I mean. Chi 033 Chi suddenly understood. I understand. I said that Raditz was so scared when he heard you say you were going to lead the Saiyans in a rebellion. It turns out that all these things were detected by Frisia's army. Bulma nodded. Yes, everything Raditz saw and heard on Earth with the detector turned on was actually uploaded to their headquarters. Our Earth has been exposed in the Frisia's army's information database. Shishi nodded again. I see. But is that Frisia really that powerful? Is he more powerful than Goku? Bulma took another puff of her cigarette and looked at Shishi again. She didn't answer directly, but asked, by the way, how many times of gravity can Goku adapt to in the gravity room now? Shishi thought for a while and said, it seems that he has not increased the gravity since he reached 200 times of gravity. Recently, he often goes to the sea with me, or with Krillin, Tien, Xinyan, etc. to simulate battles. Now I don't know how many times of gravity he can withstand. After listening, Bulma nodded. I see. It seems that Goku also knows that simply repeating a kind of training cannot endlessly improve strength. Shishi nodded. Yes, long-term repetition of a training cycle can improve, but the improvement is slow, we all know this. However, I feel that we are basically invincible. But Goku always says there is still room for improvement. Bulma nodded. Yes, and all of you have a lot of room for improvement. After I modify the detector, I will know your combat effectiveness. And then I will plan a training strategy for you. Oh, so, it seems that I will see something new again. Shishi nodded, and then suddenly remembered something. By the way, I just asked you, is Frisia more powerful than Goku? You didn't answer me. As he said, Shishi looked at Bulma with expectation. Bulma looked at the ceiling and thought for a while, then turned to look at Shishi again, and said, let's put it this way, if we express the combat power of you, Goku, Krillin, Tien Xinyan in the form of numbers and then add them all up, the total number we get may not be even 1/10 of Frisia's. Shishi was looking forward to it, but was surprised to hear what Bulma said. She widened her eyes and asked in disbelief, what? How is it possible? The combined combat power of all of us is not even 1/10 of that Frisia. Bulma nodded, it should be. Shishi immediately thought of something and suggested, Bulma, if that Frisia is so powerful, we shouldn't join forces with Vegeta and Rebel. Goku grew up on Earth and is an Earthling. Wouldn't it be better if we don't provoke them? This kind of thing has nothing to do with us. Bulma smiled, don't be afraid, now, although the current strength of all of you is far behind that of the Universe Emperor Frisia. But according to my research, if Goku can undergo a qualitative change and catch up with or even crush Frisia, there is only one opportunity left. Shishi was stunned for a moment. Qualitative improvement, what do you mean? Bulma smiled and said, there is a legend about Saiyans. Raditz should have heard of it. The legend says that a Super Saiyan can appear every 1,000 years. He is extremely powerful. The sky and the earth can break apart with a wave of his hand, and an energy wave can penetrate the planet. However, after my research, I found that, through hard practice, you can actually become a Super Saiyan. Shishi blinked and looked at Bulma in confusion. Bulma, did you extract Goku's cells and do some blind research? Bulma smiled and lied, saying, no, it's all a combination of various rumors. Some came from Gok, and some were told to me by my sister. And then I summarized it myself based on various versions of the legend. Shishi was speechless. So they are all legends? Well, what if it's not true, and Goku can't become the legendary Super Saiyan? Wouldn't we be in danger? Bulma pointed to the fragments of the detector on the table, shrugged, and said, we have no choice. Because the earth has actually been exposed. Shishi saw the wreckage of the detector, stood up, and walked around with a worried expression. That Raditz is so annoying. Why did he come to the earth for no reason? This time, not only did it break our peaceful life, but it also dragged us into the pit. No, that breakfast sentence was said by you? Bulma, why did you say that? Oh, by the way, you didn't know what this detector was for at that time. Shishi suddenly changed the subject and asked again. Do you think Frisia will think you are joking and not take your words seriously at all? Seeing Shishi's startled look, Bulma laughed again. Then put out the cigarette butt and patted Shishi on the shoulder. Shishi, don't worry, and don't blame anyone. The rules of this world have always been like this, and those who lag behind will be beaten. This is true for countries, and in fact, it is also true between planets. If we hide on Earth, who knows, a powerful guy may come one day and rule the Earth like Piccolo de Mao hundreds of years ago. After all, technology is developing now. With the development of interstellar space technology, interstellar travel can only get faster and faster. What we can do is not to escape, but to strengthen ourselves. You have practiced for so many years, but you have never participated in a serious battle, right? Now, you finally have the opportunity. Why don't you try the results of your practice? I think Goku has practiced for so many years and should have been looking forward to a worthy opponent. This time, even if he fails accidentally, we still have Dragon Ball on Earth, and we can be resurrected. After hearing Bulma's words, Shishi suddenly realized. I see, Bulma, I find that after being in contact with you for a long time, I still feel that you are unfathomable. You are much smarter than me and Goku. Bulma smiled, this is my area of expertise, but Shishi, you and Goku are good at martial arts. When we go out to fight Frisia, you will resist the enemy, and I, BDFF, will give advice. We complement each other. Shishi nodded confidently. Yes, we complement each other. Bulma picked up the tools again and put on the small welding goggles. Shishi, go to bed, I will go after I finish my work. Shishi nodded. $7.89. Just when Shishi was about to leave, Bulma stopped Shishi again. Shishi. Shishi was stunned and turned his head. What's wrong? I'm working all night today, and I should get up late tomorrow. You notify the others, don't leave after training tomorrow, and gather at the capsule company. Shishi was curious, what for? Bulma smiled, test your combat effectiveness. Okay. The next day, afternoon. There were several people standing in the backyard of the capsule company. Krillin, Yamcha, Tianjin, Jiaoze, and Raditz are all here. Bulma looked at everyone wearing Raditz's detector. I dismantled this yesterday and modified it. Now it has cut off the connection with Frisia headquarters and any other terminals. This detector has only standalone functions. In addition, I changed the text to the language of Earth, so it is convenient for us to use. When Raditz heard that Bulma had changed the detector into a standalone product, he couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Sister-in-law is really amazing. She can modify the program of this thing in one night. This is the high-tech that Frisia's army has been iterating for many years. Bulma smiled and said, don't call me sister-in-law in the future, just call me Bulma. Okay, Bulma. Raditz changed his words smoothly. Bulma looked at Raditz and pressed the detector. Well, Raditz's combat power is 150. Raditz nodded. I have maintained this combat power for a long time. Bulma turned to look at Krillin. Krillin, raise your aura a little, let me see. Krillin nodded, then shouted, and suddenly a strong aura burst out from his body. A strong wind blew up around him, but fortunately Krillin deliberately controlled the impact of his aura on the environment. Otherwise, Bulma would be blown away without any power. Bulma's detector beeped. Oh, not bad, it's actually more than 110,000. Hearing more than 110,000, Raditz was shocked, looked at Krillin, and then looked at Bulma. Bulma, what did you say just now? What is Krillin's combat power? Bulma looked at the number and said, to be precise, it should be 118,925. Raditz was shocked again. How is it possible? There must be something wrong with the detector. How can it have such a high combat power? Yes, it must be like this. I remember that the upper limit of my detector is only more than 20,000. If it is higher, it will not be able to detect it. Bulma looked at Raditz, who was so surprised that he doubted his life, and said, I forgot to tell you that after my modification, I also adjusted the detection range of the detector. From 1 point of combat power, it can be adjusted to 1 billion combat history. Don't look at this thing's small size. This transformation consumed a lot of my refined materials. At this time, Xian also stepped forward. Bulma, look at my combat power. As he said, without waiting for Bulma's order, Shishi immediately increased his combat power. In an instant, the wind blew, and the backyard was filled with layers of air. Fortunately, Gaku quickly blocked Bulma. When the air stopped rioting, Bulma pressed the detector. Beep beep beep. Bulma was surprised. How is it possible? Shishi asked excitedly, how is it, Bulma, how much is my combat power? Bulma scratched his head and said, it shouldn't be. Shishi's combat power is more than 160,000, is Piccolo Lin higher? Shishi was also stunned. Not accurate, I should not be as good as Krillin. I have simulated battles so many times, and I can't beat him at all. Son Goku said, Krillin didn't use his full strength just now. Everyone suddenly realized, and then looked at Krillin. Krillin scratched his head and said, hee, Gaku actually saw through it, hee haha. Bulma was obviously relieved. I see, that's what I thought. I thought there was something wrong with the detector. Hey, Krillin, raise your aura to the highest level, let me see how much fighting power you have. Krillin nodded. Okay. After saying that, Krillin released all his fighting power, and his aura was raised to the highest level. However, like Master Roshi, his muscles were also bulging. Bulma's detector beeped again. As soon as the sound of the detector stopped, Krillin immediately asked, how is it, what is my fighting power? Bulma read the number carefully, your fighting power is 243,185. What? More than 240,000. Krillin hadn't spoken yet, and Raditz couldn't sit still. His eyes were full of shock. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Vegeta's fighting power is only 18,000. How could he reach such a high number? Raditz has begun to tremble. Tian Xinyan, Jiaozi, and others all looked at Raditz. What's wrong, Raditz? Is this number outrageous? Is Krillin better than your Captain Vegeta? Raditz swallowed hard. More than Vegeta is powerful, with a combat power of more than 200,000, which is more powerful than all the fighters under Frieza. Shishi said, that means he is not as good as Frieza. Raditz said, Vegeta said that Frieza can transform, and his combat power in the first stage is 530,000. 530,000. Piccolo Lin is twice as powerful. I wonder if Gaku can reach this number. Several people discussed it. Hearing them say that Gaku is the strongest among them, Raditz was shocked again. Is Kakarot more powerful? Shishi said, of course, Gaku has always been the most powerful. At this time, Son Goku looked at Krillin and asked, by the way, Krillin, how many times can you use Kaioken? Krillin thought about it and replied, 20 times is not a problem. Then you fly to the sky, and then open 20 times Kaioken, let Bulma detect it. Chapter 101 Year Training Plan. Hearing Gaku's words, Krillin flew into the sky. He shouted, Kaioken. Instantly, veins all over his body bulged, and an incomparable strong aura burst out of his body. The red flame was clearly the color of Kaioken. At this moment, the wind from all directions instantly became extremely fierce, as if it could blow everything to pieces. There were a few white clouds floating in the sky, but they all disappeared in the burst of Krillin's aura. Bulma looked at Krillin in the air and moved the detector at her waist. A long string of numbers jumped up. 1, 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. Hearing that Bulma had counted to 1 million, everyone was shocked. What? Krillin's combat power has reached 1 million. Too amazing. Raditz's legs were a little weak. He picked up a drink on the table casually, and took a sip tactically. How is it possible? I thought his combat power was only 2,000. I didn't expect it to be more than 200,000. Now he has used some Kaioken moves, and it has skyrocketed to more than 1 million. It's so scary. Are the people on Earth so scary? Just then, Bulma read out the last number. Krillin's combat power is 4,860,000, and I won't read the decimals. What? 4,860,000. No one knows the combat power numbers better than Raditz. Bulma's words of not reading the decimals hurt his only self-esteem. As expected, that decimal may be much higher than his 1,500. Everyone cheered for Krillin. Krillin also said excitedly, am I very powerful? Powerful. Very powerful. You are worthy of being a hero on Earth. As he spoke, Krillin withdrew his transformation and returned to normal. But, he was a little out of breath. Son Goku looked at Krillin and asked, Krillin, how long can you maintain that state just now? How long? It's over. Son Goku was stunned. It's over, it's less than a minute. Krillin asked back, that was my peak state, and it was very stressful to maintain it. What, is 1 minute so short? Son Goku scratched his head. It seems that you are proud of 1 minute. I just want to ask you, how can you fight others if you can only maintain 1 minute? Krillin didn't take it seriously at all. I'm just looking for my peak data. If it is the normal state that does not affect the speed, it should be able to last for 3 minutes when the 20x Kaioken is turned on. If it is the 10x Kaio, it's up to you, at least minutes. While Goku and Krillin were discussing, Tian Xinyan and Jiaoze also tested their combat power, seeing that they had a combat power of 1 million per person. Even Jiaoze, who was the shortest, dumbest, and weakest, had a combat power of more than 100,000. Raditz's mentality exploded again. Jiaoze didn't open Kaioken, but if he did, he would have 2 million. Raditz didn't think he wouldn't at all. Everyone knew their combat power, and Bulma recorded it for them. When everyone finished the test, Bulma looked at Goku. Goku, it's your turn, go and try it. Remember, to improve to the highest level, I need to correctly plan the training method within a year based on your combat power. Son Goku asked, open Kaioken. Bulma thought for a while and said, no need to open it, Kaioken is only 20 times, I'll just calculate it. Son Goku nodded, okay. Then, Son Goku flew into the sky. The others were originally communicating, but suddenly saw Goku coming up, and immediately cast their eyes. Let's see how much Goku's combat power is. Shishi thought, Krillin's normal state can reach more than 200,000. Goku has enough strength to fight both of us, so it can reach more than 300,000, right? Krillin, don't guess, you will know after a test. Well, it will be revealed soon. Soon, Son Goku raised his breath to the highest level. The breath of his whole body surged, and the wind was blowing. However, Goku did not become an exaggerated muscle. Only the most balanced state can fight well. The muscle form that pursues strength and gives up speed is useless. Bulma also read the specific combat power number of Son Goku. Goku is 298,500. What? Only 290,000, less than 30. Shishi felt that Goku's number was a bit low. Krillin put his hands on his hips. Does 290,000 count as 300,000? It's 1/3 higher than mine. Yuko is really awesome. Bulma muttered, it's only 1,500 away from 300,000. With 20 times Kaioken, it's 6 million, not bad. Raditz swallowed again. 6 million is okay, good guy, he came here with a full sense of superiority. It's like he is a high caste Saiyan, and this planet is full of weak earthlings, he is superior to them. However, he has only been on Earth for more than a day, not to mention the beating he got yesterday. After all, 2,000 is greater than 1,500. However, today I actually saw their true combat power. The kid with 2,000 combat power did not use his full strength. Even his full strength is not even close to 2,000, that's 4.8 million combat power. It's an astronomical figure. Moreover, not only Krillin, but others are not much different. Kakarot is even more outrageous, having reached 6 million. Raditz's mouth was dry and he drank another drink. Their combat power is already unimaginable. He was already dumbfounded and numb. If he were in the Legion, he wouldn't even be qualified to carry shoes for these people. After a while, Bulma sorted out the information. Okay, I'll study it. I don't have any other good ways to improve combat effectiveness for now. However, I think I can teach you something to improve your cooperation ability. You may have to change your training method tomorrow. Fighting is not about strength, but teamwork and mutual help. Each of you is very strong. I think we can let someone be a boss. Open a certain multiple of Kaioken, and give a few senzu beans as supplies. Then others are not allowed to open Kaioken, or low multiple Kaioken. Several people work together to besiege the boss. Try to defeat the boss without hurting anyone under the cooperation of the team. Injuries may occur, so we must be cautious and prepare senzu beans. In addition, I am worried that the consumption of senzu beans is too high, so I took Raditz's spaceship to circle it for me. In addition to transforming a large spaceship, the life support device on it can also be transformed into a treatment chamber. The treatment chamber can also be used at that time. Shishi nodded. I understand, Bulma's method is good. Is this a simulated battle against Frieza? Bulma nodded, yes. Krillin laughed, haha, I think if that's the case, this boss must be Goku, after all, he is the strongest. Bulma looked at Krillin and immediately denied, no, you two are the strongest. To attack Frieza, Goku, and you should be the main force. So, neither you nor Goku can be the boss, you two must cooperate well to fight the boss. Krillin was shocked and then laughed. I cooperate with Goku? Then we two will definitely cooperate well? Bulma, you really understand me and Goku? Bulma smiled and asked, does anyone else have any questions? Everyone shook their heads. No. Bulma nodded. Okay, that's it. I thought about it, you've basically reached a bottleneck for a long time. If you keep practicing in the gravity room, you won't improve much. So, from now on, the practice time will be halved. The team battle mode will start in the morning. So don't practice in the afternoon and evening, and take a proper rest. 0. We can go fishing together, have a drink or something, team building activities, relax. Krillin was shocked. What? Only practice for half a day in the future? Then can we defeat Frieza in a year? Bulma smiled, do as I say, you can do it. Great. Bulma said yes, we can do it, after all, we have been practicing under Bulma's guidance for so many years. Yes, Bulma, you are amazing. I believe that under Bulma's planning, we will all become stronger. Bulma smiled and said, disband. After that, everyone dispersed. Just when Bulma was about to go to dinner with Goku, Raditz raised his hand weakly. Kakarot, Bulma, do you have any plans for me? Bulma was stunned for a moment. She forgot about him. She reacted immediately. Of course, the reason why I didn't let them use the gravity room was to make room for you. Now your foundation is too poor, it's not easy to catch up with them. From tomorrow, you can use the gravity room alone, adjust the multiple according to your own requirements. Even sleeping in the gravity room is no problem. Raditz was delighted. Really? That's great. Thank you Bulma. Bulma smiled and said, you are Goku's brother, you're welcome. As soon as Bulma finished speaking, Son Goku made an opinion. By the way, it's too boring for you to practice alone, and you can't stick to it for a long time. You know, strength is not improved by a few days of intensive practice. This is a long-term thing. How about this? Piccolo is about the same strength as you, why don't I invite him to join you? Raditz was stunned for a moment. Who is Piccolo? Now the average person on Earth is a big shot, Raditz thought, this guy is about the same as him. Isn't it that he must have a few thousand combat power, far surpassing him? Son Goku blinked. A green-skinned man, you should have seen it. Raditz immediately thought of Piccolo, whom he met on Earth. It seems that after coming here, he is stronger than him alone. Thinking of this, Li Ziyi finally had a little confidence. Finally, he is not at the bottom. Good.